Okay, we have quickly restarted stream. So, tier listing. God, what do I have to say about this? What do I have to say about this? Should we get a guest? Should we try to get a guest? Maybe that will make it easier. Yeah, I decided I was recording the tier list live. Should we try to get a guest? We could try to get a guest. We could try. Let's see who's around. Yeah, let me see if I can kill someone. Let's see. Let's see if Kana can join us. Phone a friend. So, what is the hard things to grasp here? Okay, editor, turn this in. Good. We have to talk about Ellen. And I guess Ellen is the most complicated one, right?
I'll protect you from any danger.
Oh, Kana's gonna join us. Cool. Cool. I did get a friend. Hello!
Hello.
How are you? Chat, we're going to be joined by Kana to do the tier list.
Hello, gamers. One moment. Hold on, give me 1 sec.
Take your
Can you talk to
time.
me
This was
real
really
quick?
sudden. So.
Oh, yeah.
Take all the time you need.
Okay. Let me see. Does this get recorded? I want to make sure I have. Okay, I just want to make sure I have all the audio and stuff together.
Yeah.
Do you have a tier list that you are like a tier list link that you're using? I have this one here, but it has, I think, leaked characters. This one doesn't even look real, actually. But
this one does have the leaked characters, but the portraits are technically available.
Okay.
And I'm not going to put them on the list. This is what I'm looking at right now.
Oh, okay. This one's much better. This one has like Bell and Wise on the list as if like they're like their temple outfits and their non-temple outfits are like.
Okay, here is the link for the one that I'm using then.
Yeah. Okay. Let me open this. Okay.
Would you like to? Hold on, let me record this. Would you like to introduce yourself?
1 second. I was not wearing a shirt. 1 second.
Bruh. Bruh.
Okay. Hello, I'm back.
Hello, welcome.
All right. 1 second. I want to. Let me see how I'm gonna put this up because I want to. I don't remember what I did last time for having your camera on. Give me 1 sec.
Oof.
Actually, I should just go back to my old video and see
You
how
could do
I
that.
did it with you. How you been enjoying 2.0?
I have been enjoying it. It's definitely slowed down.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Yizen is really cool. I really like Jufufu as a character. Absolutely great.
I've been. Well, actually, I should ask. How have you felt about? How do you feel about the systems and the story of 2.0?
Look, I'm a big skip button advocate.
Yep.
So it's probably all you really need to hear from me. It's not exactly my cup of tea, but it's fine. I'm glad people like it.
Okay. Right. Okay, I should be on the bottom. That's where I have to be. Okay. Where's my camera? Okay. All right. I think I'm ready to go whenever you are. If you want to do intros, all that jazz, and yeah, we could cook it up. We can cook it up.
Do want to do an intro. I'm just doing a quick. This is gonna be relevant for later, chat.
Okay.
I'm demonstrating something first.
Oh yeah, I should probably keep a notepad open for the timestamps of when things are being talked about.
Okay, this is worse than the runs I did off stream. It's fine.
Oh, interesting. I just realized the team you're doing.
It's much worse than what I did off stream. Okay. So I don't know if 7 tiers is going to be enough, but it's definitely a place to start.
Yeah. Um, this just has S to D. Oh,
You can just it's tier list maker. You can just add tiers.
Oh yeah.
You can just
Yeah. I'm just thinking like I was thinking would it be an idea of all time to just have to try and confine ourselves to this, but the more and more I look at it, maybe you do need
I don't
7 tiers is interesting.
yeah, I don't know. I was just picking a number. We could try to do 6, we could do 4. It's up to you.
Wow, I think I might just be cheating in. Okay, wait, our last tier list was quadruple S to triple S to double S to S to A.
This time I've done T1 to T6. I'm sorry, T1 to T0, but T0 is the bottom. It's either going to have no T0 or T0 at the bottom.
Wait, that's so funny. I
try to do a different scale every time now.
Okay.
So at this point, it's like a joke for me. The last one I did in GPA scale.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I don't know. I try to come up with these jokes as we do them. If you want to do a traditionally ordered tier list, we can do like 8S.
I'm okay with keeping your tier 1 to tier 5 and then tier 0 at the bottom. I think that's funny.
Okay.
Well, I'll leave. At the very minimum, I'll include this like a little intro at the start or something, so people know that like, it's intentionally a joke.
Credit score next time. Ooh.
Ooh, yes. I like it.
Name them after stocks one time.
Okay, yeah. Do you wanna start with your intro if you wanna?
Yeah. Hello. 2.0 is essentially coming up on, or 2.0 is over. We're doing a tier list. Let's talk about all of the characters in the game up to 2.1, not including the 2.1 characters, and see how they've aged and how they fare. We are joined by a guest this time. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, I am Kana. As you guys may or may not know, I do guide content. Sometimes I cover the news, sometimes I play other gacha games, as I've actually been pretty preoccupied with, but 2.0 was a huge investment of like my more recent time. I have some qualms about that, but that's not the point of today's video. We're gonna do the tier list. I did more recently test the characters, so I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp or handle of at least how the characters may feel, and I'm excited to do this tier list. Honestly, I feel so bad because I told Jay Stern originally, I was like, hey, like June 15th or something, like let's do it.
I do the tier list video every update in the second half now, since like 1.5. So I figure since I don't feel a lot has changed since the last update for most of the cast, I wanted to be joined by a guest. And yeah, so that's Kana. Do you want to record an intro for your video? Or do you want to do that off stream?
I'll probably do that off stream, or I'll just we'll have some sort of like goofy, my editor will cook it up. It'll be fine.
Okay.
It'll be fine.
Just want to make sure you have everything you need to.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the chair noises, by the way.
Nah, it's okay.
New chair is my next sub goal. I am recording this, by the way, right? Yes, okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to start with 6 tiers. At the bottom, in T0, I think we have to place the one and only, the greatest DPS character in the game.
Oh my god, wait, I just realized. Oh, wait.
Oh,
I think, one sec. I think, okay, wait, I think I'm gonna have to lower you just a little bit. Oh, I completely forgot to mic check you. Okay, wait. I think we're okay now, though.
Okay.
Can you speak?
Hello.
Yeah. Okay, we're good.
I am speaking.
All right. Yeah. I think this is fine. Honestly, it is what it is. Just lower the volume of the video if it's too loud, guys. I apologize.
Wonderful.
But yeah, we should be fine now. Sorry.
Okay. I want to place the one and only greatest DPS of all time, right here at the bottom in T0, Ben Bigger. As always, I like doing tier lists, support characters and DPS characters separately, and we start with the DPS characters.
Right. Yes.
That's the structure that I like. Because I feel you could say more, because usually supports are more useful than DPSs, but they're also only as useful as the DPSs that they support. It becomes a whole thing.
Yeah, no. I think separating them is a good idea. I think trying to quantify or like put an exact label on like how Ellen compares to like Nicole is like what are we even, you know what I mean? It just feels a little weird.
It feels weird.
Yeah. That said, surely Ben will make an appearance on both sides, right? Like he retains his role twice, right?
I think we've decided he's a DPS. I don't know.
Okay. You know, if you're okay with this tier 0 placement,
okay.
I'm
you
okay
do
with this tier 0 placement.
I played every team possible videos.
Yes.
Do you still consider Ben a support, or have you given up?
Okay. Truthfully, anytime that I play Ben, I think I've done like 7 teams videos at this time. Ben is there for the crit buff, and most of the time I don't even realize it. And in most Ben teams, I just end up using a 2-man team anyways, and it feels much better and clears faster. If you try to work around Ben, hey, more power to you. If you really want your character on screen, that's fine. He always ends up just being like a ball and chain, though. Like unanimously, regardless of what fight it is, it does not matter. I
think at this point in the game, if you're playing Ben, you're playing him as a DPS with like Lucy Lighter.
Yeah, if you like him though, hey, you know, I got nothing but respect for. I think there's like one guy that plays or clears every Shiyu with him, or like every Deadly Assault that posts a video. I'm always impressed when he pulls up with 3 stars and, you know, and the Shiyu defense clear, S rank clear, and all that. So hey, more power to you if you love Ben Bigger, but hey, he belongs in the tier 0 for a reason, you know.
Yeah, I mean? He's a classic T0 character. T0. What order do you want to do this in? Do you just want to pick characters randomly?
Last time I literally just did it in the order of the I think we just did it in like the order of the whatever the list gave us. We just did it.
Okay, I've already rearranged it because I kind of separated the characters.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just wherever you get it, I'll just pick and choose, and it's fine.
Okay. So, I guess we're working our way up from the bottom. So, who do you think is the second worst DPS in the game?
Second worst,
or
DPS
debatably worst? I don't know.
Okay.
Who do you think is bad?
You know,
is I guess the question.
You know, great solo carry Ben videos aside, and outside of like the super mains, I think there is no like singular character. I think they all like kind of tie in, especially with, I think more people now, like people are now, I think, opening their eyes to the fact that like, yeah, the only thing that like really poses itself as really difficult is like Deadly Assault. And like people are starting to do like pairings, and they're trying to see like how cost effective or like how like cheap or how expensive it is to run a team. With that like kind of thinking around, I think it's got to be like, not to like spoiler each character, but it's got to start with or include Nekomata. Like she's got to be in here somewhere.
Yes. So, do you want to put Neko 1 tier up, or do you want to put her in the same tier?
I think Nekomata is still better than Ben. If I'm keeping it a buck.
Is it a full tier though?
I'm trying to think of the way that this tier list is going to pan out. I think we can afford to put her in tier 5 right now.
You think we can afford it? Okay.
Yeah.
Neko is a standard banner S rank attack physical agent. Thankfully, physical agents are going to be more useful next update. So that's cool. Here's the thing about Neko. She's in the most... okay, there are 6 physical DPSs if we count Alice in the next update.
Yeah.
There are 5 currently.
Yeah.
Uh, there are a lot of options for physical characters.
Yeah.
It's really contested.
To be honest, the thing that kind of beats me up about Nekomata 2 is that I remember at the start of the game, I made like in one of my early tier lists, I had talked about, or like one of my early like write-ups about the game. I thought that there would be, you know, a bit of a distinction, or there'd be like a separate use for like anomaly versus crit based characters, or like, you know, separation, like, oh, certain bosses will just take more critical. That just never ended up panning up to be the case. So
It
like,
actually
if you are
does
playing,
work that way. Some bosses do take more crit damage, and some bosses do take more anomaly damage.
sorry, let me. What I mean more so is that
that's
like
just because of like shell conditions, though. It's not super inherent.
Well, I just mean more so like it would feel like you were making a conscious decision to play Neko, and like you're gaining some substantial value over like you picking. Well, there isn't another physical DPS at her level, but like let's say if there were like 2 physical DPS, you're like, wow, this is so much. Like I'm making a clear distinction. Like Nekomata, I made the right choice by picking Neko over Piper or Jane. It's just not the case, and like that plus the fact that honestly Neko's playstyle and at least like her damage for me, it just, I get it. Nekomata can have her tier 1 team. You could play that Neko Piper team every day of the week. You could take it to the bank if you want.
No, the best Neko team is it's currently Astra and Nicole.
Oh, okay. Hey,
that's what you play.
What? Yeah, you can play whatever you want with the Astra and Nicole, honestly, is what I've discovered. But I mean, in terms of performance, though, every character, or a lot of the characters, I should say, in the game can really do Nicole Astra. So for me,
yes,
Neko at tier 5 is kind of where I feel most comfortable. But again, like we're getting 2 physical characters. Who knows? Maybe they'll release some content that makes her feel like super powerful or super strong. I still see people like on YouTube like clear most of the content with Neko though. It just, you know, don't ask if they're M6 or, you know, R5 or anything like that. That's always a bit questionable.
It's fine. The fact, I mean, she's okay. She is standard banner.
Mm-hmm.
You can get her mindscapes if you play long enough. Mm-hmm. You can guarantee one right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay saying you want Neko. I'm okay with it. You're counting her mindscapes. Yeah, that's the only reason I would put Neko on the same tier as the A rank physical DPSs. By that I mean Billy and Corin.
Yeah, no, let's not even. Yeah, we're not touching Piper, and we're not touching Piper and Jane, and God knows even know what. I've, to be clear, no leakies, no nothing. I'm not like a leak watcher, nothing. Nothing about Alice. So, also this is a 2.0 tier list anyway.
Yeah, this is 2.0 tier list. Yeah. We're not talking about Alice and Yuzuha. So I did want to put Billy. The question is, are Billy and Corin a full tier above Neko? As I think about how the tiers are gonna look, I'm not sure.
Do you think it feels better if you put Neko down with Ben and you put the others up, or you leave the others up?
We can do that. I think. Okay, technically Neko has S rank mindscapes. That would be the justification for keeping her up.
I mean, okay. Realistically, though, like, I don't know.
They're kind of yeah. But you speak. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say like, okay. The last time we did this video, people were like, "Well, what are the qualifications? Like, what is your standard? Okay. What is your baseline?" And like, really, it's kind of just feel and and it just doesn't feel good. I feel like to play this Nekomata character.
Okay.
Like, you know, everyone, like I get it. There's math. There's like, you know, tons of different fights, and I know that you've been a proponent of talking about like how frequently like certain bosses show up in like Shiyu defense or like deadly assault. Man, when was the last time we got Razor? Like anywhere?
Barely ever.
Like
in Shiyu, barely.
Yeah. Like and then physical bosses wise, like what are we talking about? You know, like,
Yeah, there is no physical DA boss yet. In
Exactly,
Shiyu,
so-
it is the brute, the Razor, Doppelganger Hugo, and Doppelganger Jane.
yeah, but those can't be DA bosses. At least right now.
No, those
right?
cannot be
As
DA
far as I can
bosses.
tell.
They're yeah, because we're getting 2 physical agents in the next update. I'd expect a physical DA boss. Otherwise, it doesn't make a ton of sense to do 2 physical agents. But I don't know, maybe they won't.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on the characters too, I do want to talk like specifically. I mean, we're kind of combining Billy and Corin.
Yeah, we can separate them a
inevitably-
bit.
Yeah, it's fine. Like whichever direction we want to take it, but honestly, the two do feel kind of joined to the hip for me. Like I would say maybe if you're trying to be a bit more flexible, if you don't want to feel as what is it, like restricted or tied down to like how you play the character, it feels like Billy may feel a bit more free compared to Corin. Corin, you know, though we aren't sure if in the future she'll get her her like Lost Void kit or something at some point. Even that, by the way, I'm not like a super big fan of her Lost Void kit anyways, but in terms of just like her performance, it's a physical DPS. You do need like in most cases you're still looking to fish for or try to get to a stun to feel like you're doing a lot with Corin. Now ultimately I think, as I'm sure you guys have probably also seen, most characters, if not all characters in this game, can clear through some like magic formula or some team composition. If you guys take a look at, like, I've been like referencing this guy like more recently, and I'm sure you guys probably know him too, this Tubu Games guy. He just clears with like all A ranks. Like I think he's cleared like almost every or like most of the deadly assaults with like full A rank teams. Granted, some have constellations and stuff, and like granted maybe the gear is good, but my guy is killing Bringer with like Seth and Sokaku or something like that, which is okay. If that can clear, then I think, you know, there's still some Billy and Corin can be good, but I don't think these two characters are nearly as good as the others. So for Corin and Billy, tier 5, I think, is just where they have to
I actually
belong.
think
Like,
Corin is one of the better A rank DPSs and currently, to be honest.
Okay, I mean,
there's a great YouTuber by the name of Corn Zone. He does Corin challenge runs all the time.
That's funny. Oh, that's actually really funny. Wait, I've never heard of this guy before. So is he like outperforming all the other DPSs, or is it just like amongst the A ranks?
I just think Corin is one of the better A rank DPSs. It is okay. The teams are, you're going to be playing Astra Nicole or Astra Trigger. That's what you're going to be playing, and that's what it's going to look like. So it's going to look exactly like all that other stuff. But I mean, it's good. Like, it's good. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
it's good enough.
Listen, like the results are the results. You
Yeah,
know
results
what I
are
mean? So, like,
results.
If it clears, then I mean, like I don't really have any like qualm necessarily with putting the characters up here. I just, from like my browsing and my like walking around and like taking a look at like how characters like perform, I feel like just on average, and even if you just take a look at, I mean, debatably how much you care for like the analytics and like the spreadsheet information from like Pridewind and like their clears, Billy and Corin alongside Neko usually near or like at around the bottom, constantly. And that is probably and likely because of like an unpopularity issue. But I do think it's fair. Like you mentioned specifically, like of the A rank characters, she does feel better. I think that's fair to say, to be honest, because a lot of the other A rank DPS they're okay. Like I think Piper, like, you know, not to spoil it too far ahead, but I'm assuming Piper is like towards the top of your list or like near the top end. And like, I get it, you know, there's not too many.
I'm not actually sure how this tiers. I haven't thought that far ahead about this.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I can understand you wanting to push for Corin to be like ahead of the pack in a sense, or if you'd want to distinguish her a little bit further away from Billy. It's tough for me because I've tested both Billy and Corin teams, like even more recently. They feel, to me at least, pretty similar to how most of the characters, or I should say most of the A ranks normally perform. I don't distinctly at least from, again, I'm not doing any super like min maxes, but I haven't seen any like major difference for me between like Corin, Billy, and again, even some of the other A ranks. But again, casual,
well, which
like,
A ranks? Because we'll just put them on the board now.
Yeah, I guess I guess that's fair to say, right? Like, at this point, like what it would be. Oh wait, sorry, I'm trying to.
Who would it be?
Rings. Well, it would be what? Like, it has to be Piper at some point. It has to be Anton.
Piper, Anton, Grace.
A ranks?
Yeah, why not?
wait.
We got a Neko.
Wait, you're talking about like the poor performing, or like
yes, I'm talking about the poor performing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, of all like the bottom tier DPS, they're all, yeah, I mean, we're looking at pretty much, unless you start getting a bit goofy with it, you know, again, I have to say I've definitely see like an uptick in people trying out different teams to get like bringer clears and stuff. I don't know if you want to include Sokaku here. I also don't know if you want to like do, like, I saw some people even doing like electric Anby as like a DPS, but that's like more specific to like a deadly assault boss. If those are,
it's a bit of a meme. It's a bit of...
I you know, a YouTube video is a YouTube video, right?
Yeah. We can put Sokaku though. I'm good with that.
For Sokaku. Yeah, I think if you want to kind of get around and place like the bottom of the DPS, so low ranks plus A ranks, I think, truth be told, though there's like a bit of a distinction between like the tier 5 and quote unquote tier 0, any of these characters, I feel like, depending on the element, depending on like the buffs that week, depending on the team, they all kind of fall in the same category. Like, is it YouTube postable? Sure, probably. Will you maybe get a screenshot saying that you got like 30K in like a perfect setup? Sure, probably. But I can't in good faith say that I think any character with the similar or equal amount of investment or like one tricking would not kind of end up the same. Like, I don't, you know, there's tech for all the characters, and at least for me, from my like, I guess my medium amount of experience with these characters, I've never noticed the characters to be like, wow. And unless, okay, only exception, if you main DPS, like solo DPS like Piper and Grace, hey, it is what it is. But outside of something goofy like that, all the characters kind of perform similarly. Maybe Grace towards the back end.
I'm potentially willing to put Grace 1 up because you can play Vivian Astra, and that would be the exclusive reason. That's not, you can do that with Piper as well, and Piper's definitely better there. But
well, the only thing I would say is, like, are we gonna make the assumption that these characters are being played with like unlimited, you know, like unlimited roster pool, like you can play them with whatever character you want? Because then, you know what I mean, like, I think Anton with Astra and Nicole is probably gonna sling numbers a bit harder than some of these other characters if they don't have them. But it kind of, you know, it kind of depends where we're drawing the line. Like Nicole, like, I think for your credit, Grace is also, like, again, going to be quite good. I actually think she's pretty good, in fact, with Vivian. She had like some of the higher clears that I had when I tested her in the teams video. But equally so, you know, like you said, Corin, are you going to put Corin alongside Grace? Because Corin also had, again, like you said, Astra Nicole, Trigger Nicole, or Trigger Astra.
Trigger Astra, like you can do teams like that. Well, the question is, do you want to evaluate the highest possible performance from the characters, assuming infinite roster, or do you want to say, yeah, but when you don't have that team, Grace is literally the worst?
I think we can just rate them based off their best team.
Okay.
And
so so we are going to rate off best team.
Yeah, and then we could just, like, probably, you know, we'll give a disclaimer at some point, editor disclaimer. Like, if you don't have these teams, a lot of them are just like tier 5 mush. Like that's just the truth. I don't think like, you know, sifting between tier 4, bottom of tier 4, top of tier 5, bottom of tier 5,
So,
top of tier 0 is gonna.
My feedback on the 1.7 iteration was people wanted more details about the bottom half of the tier list. So a lot of these A ranks, which is why I kind of have so many tiers.
Okay, if that's the case,
Yeah.
then I think at best team wise, I think you probably would put. I'm gonna go on a limb here. I'm just gonna like I don't want to parrot exactly what you're gonna say. I think you would probably put. I want to say maybe Billy in his own tier, and then everyone else kind of next to each other. Like I think there's a Piper Vivian team for everyone, or like there's a Piper Vivian team that goes crazy. I think there's definitely like that Anton team, the funny meme one. When I did that team, by the way, like I was in the process of like doing like an anti. I was S rank clearing like the Shiyus, and I was 3-starring.
Yeah.
Well, this is a long time ago. The Deadly Assaults.
I don't
And,
like the goal being can clear. So
Okay.
let me explain this a little bit, because I think saying something can clear is somewhat misleading.
Okay.
Can clear with infinite resources is not the same as is easy to clear with. So I guess the criteria... I know I've spoken to you about this. Damage isn't free. And just because you have a plentiful amount of damage doesn't mean everyone else will.
Yeah.
So evaluating how things clear at lower levels of literal energy investment matters to me. I put this into practice recently. So if you haven't followed, I did a new account endgame speedrun. So we got 3 stars on a Deadly Assault boss in the first 72 hours.
Wow. 72 hours? That's crazy.
And then we had to wait for the banners. And then when the banners changed, so when Yizen released, we did our 9-star Deadly Assault and our full star Shiyu defense.
Wow.
So we did 9-star Deadly Assault on an account 29 days old.
Wow, 20, and that was, you said it was mostly because of the banner, right? Like
we had to wait for the banner to change. Potentially, I don't know. Probably, possibly, but yes.
1 month getting nine stars is kind of crazy, honestly.
Yes. So I like to evaluate characters at like. We need to assume that people are going to want to shoot higher. If someone wants to try to punch up and do something like that, you want to be recommending teams that will be able to clear at that level.
Okay, I have like a couple notes here, but then we're probably gonna just have to like, there's gonna be like a disclaimer where it's like we reshuffled like the qualifiers, or like we reshuffled like the bases for the tier list. But okay, so what I'm seeing here is, so rather than have the best team, because you said you want to focus on the lowest,
it's
like, or sorry, rather than
okay, so it's more when I say that, I mean to say that the actual damage comparison matters, and characters doing more damage is going to make things easier. This is literally the Miyabi is easy to play argument, because she's not, but she does a lot of damage, so it is easy to clear with. An excess of damage is a good thing. And it makes things easier.
Do you think it would be good for us to, like, do you want to change then like the qualifier of like we're still using, or like the basis that we're using their best team?
No, not really.
Say, like, is that best team hard
like
to
how
play?
good is that best team? It essentially. So like the idea of it can clear isn't a good metric. Like it can do X score at max is potentially more useful.
Okay. I think that's fair. The only thing is, my only concern is that you know, like how we started this tier list and we're like, well, you don't really want to compare like, you know, like I don't know, like Vivian to like Pulchra or something, because these are like
Right.
two separate characters. The damage I feel like the damage performance of characters varies quite frequently. Not so much that like you aren't like getting the same out of the character necessarily, but it's like, would we then be comparing like an Anton on like a neutral fight to like a soldier, like both fighting like a neutral element?
So,
or do you mean like,
how do I phrase what I mean? You want teams that can consistently 50k on your account, not teams that can consistently 30k on your account. Teams that can consistently 50k for you are teams that could be getting 30k on someone else's account.
True.
Is what I mean. You don't want to take the damage for granted because it's technically fundamentally difficult. Or like,
okay,
there's a there's a barrier.
If
people don't,
and that's the line you'd say.
I don't want to put a firm line like has to do X, but you want things to be good. You don't want things to be barely okay.
If we're okay,
I guess you could say it as like having high standards.
Okay, if you have high standards, like if we want to have like a high, I think you and I, Jason, without pissing off the public, like if we just talked like off stream talking about like the tier list and like where the placements for a lot of these characters were, not that the bottom characters don't necessarily like matter or anything like that, but do any of the characters that we've included thus far, oh well, I don't think you've moved them yet, but like for me, I've moved all like the quote unquote low rank characters. I don't think any of these characters like even quite meet the quote unquote high standard, unless we're talking about like the Mindscape thing, like we talk about like high Mindscapes for Neko.
No, they don't.
And like,
yes, they don't. And that's, I guess, the thing that I want to keep in mind.
Like the shiniest turds of the shed are like, in my opinion, like I can't speak too much to Corin. I can understand why Corin is strong. Like I don't think, like I've always like remarked that like Corin, if Corin was easier to play and like made a bit more sense in terms of her kit, like I don't think she necessarily lacks like the capability of having high scores.
A lot of the, I don't know. There is a lot of the, we can talk about your website, Pride One. This data set is, it's fine. It's a little fundamentally flawed. There are literally 0 Antons.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that's what I mean. Like, to be clear, I don't think, you know, whenever I do research and whenever I like come up with stuff like this, I think it would be silly, first and foremost, to like only, you know, you're like with any scientific, you know, research type thing, using one source is silly. You know, like you should be using like a couple different sources to like verify and fact check what you're doing. And like, as you're seeing on screen right now, like 0 Anton clears, like that's it, like 0, like literally no one has picked this character. So like, you can't even, you know, you can't quantify how good or how bad the character is. The main thing is though, is that even if you and I right now, Jason, were to play every single one of these characters in like their ideal team, I don't think it still trends, as you said, away from tier 5.
Yes.
I think rather what I'd say is, do you believe that the tier 5, like, or organizing the order of the tier 5 characters, like, means enough such that it meets your standards? Because like, it's kind of, honestly, I'm kind of torn because it feels like you have two things at play here. You said like one of the criticisms of your tier list was that you want people, like people were saying like, oh, you should care more about like the bottom end characters. But at the same time, if you're still maintaining the high standards, they aren't necessarily clearing. Yeah, the you know, the commentary that you should just say is that, well, like, you know, if the team doesn't work, I'm not gonna like tell you how Jane, Ellen, and Soldier 11 do in a team composition together, because like, who the hell is going to try that? There's like a infinite number of combinations that work, but there's only certain ones that'll actually perform. So since we're talking about some of this stuff, should we talk about popularity score?
Hope you have a fun stream. Did you see my super chat?
I think
also
if we
taking
explain
into
it, it's
account
fine.
agent
I'll leave you to
utility
that.
and
I understand the
performance,
concept
how
of
they
it. I
can
don't know
deal their
exactly
damage is important.
how you would
In my
like. This is
latest
using.
video,
Hold on, can you
most
be
other
quiet for
agents
1
simply
second?
cannot do what I did. They don't.
There's a DTS. Okay. Sorry, you can keep going. I'll respond to that after.
No. Basically, what I was trying to say is that, like, if you want to, we can explain the popularity system. We can talk about the Pride Win stuff. Like, these are all like context, right? And I think that's good to provide so that people aren't misled.
So what I mean
still,
by
however-
popularity, 90% of Miyabis and 90% of Yishuans have their engines.
Yeah.
Every
are you just saying, like,
other
whether or not
character
they'll be
is
used with it?
60 or 50%. Which is a significant like score increase if you try to look at those analytics.
Yeah, and like at best you're guesstimating, right, in terms of like what the actual impact of that would be, like in terms of like how it would affect like the Pride Win databases and stuff.
I mean, you literally know more characters having their engines means higher scores.
Exactly. But I mean, how much it actually affects, you have no idea.
Significantly.
So it's not like you could, account for it. I mean,
you disclaim
is there
it
a
and
way
say
to-
that the data potentially isn't useful or is potentially misleading.
Yeah. Again, the only concern for me is that I don't think, even with that disclaimer and even with the flawed nature of this information, like, though I agree, like there's definitely some like holes that you could pick at it. I don't think that like with, like 90%, I don't know, like 90% Anton signature, I'll use a bad example, but like with 90% of like an S rank character or like a low performing S rank character signature, 90%, some of these characters are still not going up. Like you can put Grace's signature and it's not going up. So it kind of is what it is.
I feel it. Okay. I feel like we're probably just going to be talking about it for Yizen specifically.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I'm actually very curious. I don't know what your take is on Yixuan, where she is. So I'm really curious where you're going to put her.
Okay. We'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah. I have been recording and like, that's fine. Okay. Do you want to kind of restart? And
It does not matter. We can just pick up from where we were.
Okay. So let me see.
Anyway, Yojimbo suggested, considering how characters deal their damage, which in the sense that Billy can dodge during his attacks and he can take less damage than other characters.
So then that would lean more towards like ease of play, like how easy it is to play a character.
How consistent a character can be.
So consistency, are you okay with like basing it like from your, I mean, tier lists are all personal anecdote, right? Like it's just, that's just how it's going to have to be. So like, are you okay with it being personal, anecdotal, whatever you've done personally or like found research wise alongside their damage and like you feel their ease of use? Like, is that like a fair criteria?
Fair criteria. Okay. Right, here's the other part of the popularity score, by the way. 85% of users have Astro Yao and use Astro Yao. This doesn't actually count ownership, by the way. These statistics are not adjusted for ownership. So it is literally just that 90% of the accounts have Miyabi and are using Miyabi. That negatively impacts characters like Lighter, who are less popular. So Lighter's usage would be higher if it didn't count players that don't own Lighter when displaying these metrics. This is another fundamental flaw with how they report this stuff.
I mean, however you want to like use this. I mean,
Yeah,
again, I think it's a trend.
I'm trying to explain some of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I have problems with this data set and trying to treat it like a fact. I think it's important to discuss, but it is not the most reliable thing besides metrics of popularity, because they can tell you which characters are popular.
Yeah, I mean, I think for what it's worth as well, I think maybe not for the exact same purpose that they include here, but popularity, like I for this case, I think popularity also means that they've cleared, right? Like in order to register for some of the, or sorry, not registered, but like, or not cleared, but rather they've scored, right? Like the Anton team, for instance, has 0, but like for some of the other characters, they've still been seemingly powerful enough for someone to have tried and scored on the list, right?
There is a baseline level of good for limited S ranks. It's really like limited S rank DPSs. You're not gonna be. People will continue to play their favorite thing until it literally cannot clear.
That's true. That's true too.
People are very stuck in their ways. You see this all the time in Genshin.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think if we're, I don't know if you're okay with like, okay, based on what we just talked about,
Right.
Unless if there's additional like parameters that you want to include, I'm okay with the way that we described like the rating, which is again like it's mostly based around like damage performance, not just clearing, but literal like raw number statistic clearing that we've seen, not just
Right.
necessarily from Pridewin, but from like other sources, like testing. Also how easy or how consistent the team is, alongside, I guess, how they perform on their best team. But I do think it's also important to probably talk about, like, I guess this is include or be included in consistency, how like the lower, more like free to play teams feel.
Okay. Yeah. And then if you want to restart, we can restart.
Yeah.
Okay. Taking it from the top. Tier list. So I want to start out the tier list with the guaranteed T0 DPS, Ben Bigger, at the bottom. Holding it down for the fort. I think Ben is currently the worst DPS in Zenless. I don't really have much else to say. His current best team is like Lighter, Lucy, maybe it's Astra Nicole now and you just don't play Ben. I'm not sure, but it doesn't exactly matter. I think Ben is too difficult to clear consistently with for me to give him any real flowers besides being cool. Okay then. Hello.
Oh, what just happened? Oh, that's so weird. I thought you just like, I thought you deafened to like record your intro, and I'm like, damn, this is a long intro, Jay Stern. Like, what happened? Sorry, I have no idea what just happened.
I put Ben down on the tier list.
Okay, all right. I'm just gonna like go real quick, like explain I guess like the idea behind the tier list. Welcome, guys. Today I'm gonna be doing a tier list with Jay Stern, as you probably could see from the thumbnail and the title. Today we're gonna be rating the characters from 2.0, not talking about any, well, not really talking about the characters from 2.1, as we don't know much about them officially. However, in terms of the I guess the standards or the parameters or kind of our guidelines as we go through these characters. We're going to talk about a variety of things, including their damage performance, not just whether they clear, but also how easy they are to play. This also includes some of their best teams alongside maybe some of their more free to play and more efficient teams, while not just always isolatedly looking if a character can beat up whatever fight you're looking at. That said, we have a couple of tier lists here, or a couple tiers here, I should say. For the sake of not getting pitchforked and shot, the tier 0 is obviously at the bottom here for meme's sake. This is not actually the tier 0, as of course it would be where the tier 1 is, but Jason's a funny guy, so we're gonna do tier 0 at the very bottom. Maybe we'll do our credit score next time. With that, Jason, do you want to introduce yourself and kind of give your thoughts or inputs on what we're doing?
Hello, I am Jstern25. I stream and do guides for Zenless Zone Zero on YouTube and Twitch. So you can check me out there, youtube.com/@Jstern25, twitch.tv/Jstern25. Come along, say hi. I do kind of high-end Zenless gameplay, or like min-maxy stuff. We try to do as much of that as possible and maximize all the characters. It's something that's important to me for a tier list or for giving advice, is not that something can clear, it's that something can clear easily. You want to be able to actually trust that a player will take the advice and be able to succeed with it, not that a player will be gated from doing something because they haven't played the game enough, or they don't have enough gear, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very fair. To that point, and kind of as I mentioned earlier, I think it is quite important, again, to get a bunch of different perspectives. That's why, although I think we did it maybe a little bit last time, I definitely want to, and we're both going to be focusing a bit more about how versatile, how good certain teams are, or how good a character can be. That said, if you want to start us off, Jason, we can start with your favorite DPS. Before we actually get to that, I should say we are going to be separating the two tier lists into one being for DPS, one for support, as comparing supports and DPSs or utilities is kind of goofy. So we're just going to have one as the more stun or defense or support agent based tier list, and the other be anything relating to or dealing DPS.
Yep, perfect. So yeah, we can start out with the T0 himself. It's Ben.
Yes. Ben.
This is the T0. He's holding down the bottom all by himself. I do think Ben is the current worst DPS in the game. You can play him with Lighter Lucy. You can play him with Astra and Nicole. He just doesn't really... He just doesn't really do much. You have a lot of experience playing Ben as a support, and I kind of think you shouldn't even bother. I don't think Ben really is a support or a DPS. He kind of doesn't do much, but I do think he leans to be a DPS. He wants to be a DPS. I don't know. What do you think about Ben Bigger?
I think Ben is one of those characters where, if you're really interested in taking the less walked path, by all means, this is a character you can play it on. I do think, if you just look at his kit numbers wise, yes, he does literally have damage coded into his kit. However, similar to like his crit rate shield buff, it's not really something where it has ever really felt worth it, even as a support to use. In terms of his damage, his days, basically anything that I've ever tried using with Ben, because I don't do most of my testing anymore with Ben as a DPS, but some of the initial tests I did with Ben, like when Astra came out, I tried Ben DPS. I suck with him, don't get me wrong, I'm sure, but that was an unholy experience, and it is what it is. Like, again, as we've mentioned, I don't necessarily think that like Ben is a difficult character or anything like that to play, as some of the other characters we'll talk about later could be a bit more difficult or inconsistent in terms of team performance. Ben's kind of just, at least for me, always the same. He's going to use his EX special. He's going to use his ultimate. He's probably going to love taking someone like Astra or Nicole on his team. However, then you don't have Astra Nicole for some of your other teams, and that's kind of a big deal. Like especially if you start to do content like Deadly Assault, and if you're more limited in terms of what you can do in Shiyu defense, it just doesn't feel worth it. And this is our second take, but in my first take of talking about Ben's, even using him as a for whatever purpose, his crit rate or anything, it just doesn't feel worth it to use like any of his abilities, as opposed to just using your two other characters, DPS or honestly support wise. But yeah, I think Ben is pretty firm in tier 0. I don't think there's much discussion here. If you really love Ben, hey, by all means, go for it. Ben's amazing. But that's not going to cloud us from our next character. If you want, we can go down. Do you want to talk about the next character on your list, which is Billy?
Yeah. I think Billy is a character that a lot of players really like. He is a physical attack agent. His best team is Astra Nicole, probably. If not, you might be able to use Trigger. I think Billy's biggest claim to fame is people do solo runs with him, where they don't get hit, where they spam his dodge. I do think that is Billy's biggest claim to fame. He's not the worst. I would comfortably put Billy 1 tier, maybe even 2, but let's say 1 for now, above Ben.
I think that's fair. I'm sure, even regardless if you agree or disagree with Billy's placement as a Billy defender, a Billy main, what you said is absolutely true. Like, part of the reason why a lot of people like playing Billy and were interested in Billy, and I'm sure they've kind of, even with their Lost Void kit, the addition, even the devs themselves are pretty aware of the fact that Billy's playstyle definitely revolves around like the mobility and the like avoidability, the dodging, the dodge counters. And with that, it's not to say, at least from my eyes, that Billy isn't capable of dealing damage, or again, like the title theme of today's video, it's not that he can't clear, it's that he doesn't necessarily bring anything super unique from the damage POV, which is why I feel like he doesn't necessarily skyrocket to like the tier 3, tier 2, because although maybe you can find some value in the dodging or being able to solo certain content, it's not necessarily, at least from my eyes, used in such a way that you can avoid downtime and then like put out an insane amount of DPS. It's like, yes, you can avoid getting killed, but if you're on a timer, sometimes I think you'll feel the pressure, even with a character like Billy, especially compared to some of the other DPSs that we'll get into. With that though, if you want, we can now talk about the other physical DPS, Corin.
Yeah, we can talk about Corin. Corin is a bit of a like Astra Nicole merchant. It's similar to someone like Anton. That's Corin's biggest use right now, which is her quick assist and just some high damage hits so that you're able to hit consistently. I think Corin is potentially one of the better A rank DPSs, assuming you have the team for her. If you don't, then she's really not doing much for you. People also have misconceptions about how to gear a lot of the less popular characters. No, Fanged Metal is not good. Stop trying to use Fanged Metal. It's not good on Neko, it's not good on Corin, it's not good on Billy. It is a huge misconception. But I'm gonna comfortably put Corin with Billy for now. I don't think they're that different. I think you can say Billy is less dependent on a team, and that can be an asset for him. But I can also say Corin does more damage.
Yeah, I think, like, again, Corin is about what you see and what you get, the character. Like, she has high damage multipliers in her kit, but if you even play Corin one time, you see the obvious flaws in her kit. So when you do introduce more powerful limited characters to kind of boost her up or improve her performance, well, that's exactly what you're going to get. You're covering some of her obvious weaknesses, and unlike I think with some of the other characters on this list, Corin I think is a bit more unique, where you can again kind of curb some of her weaknesses so that she does put out some of the higher damage that she does have hidden in her kit, or I say quote unquote hidden. But for her, I still think that, again, in general and for an overall sort of team composition, I don't necessarily think that you want to exclusively hold like your Astra or like your trigger every single time that you use Corin. It is something that you could use on occasion, but there's other characters on this list, and if you're also trying to use someone like Billy, or if you're also trying to use some of the other characters like Anton, well, these are all characters that want Astra, right? So it feels a little bit more difficult to put, I think, Corin any higher than where you're seeing her right now. But I think that's fair to say. It's not that she doesn't have a good team. It's just one of the most contested teams of all time, right? With that, do you want to now move on to the character that we actually talked about just before, Anton?
Yeah, Anton he's basically a meme at this point. If you don't know, Anton has a 850% quick assist multiplier. It is the highest quick assist multiplier of any character, because you're never actually using any of his attacks. He's never leaving burst mode as long as he has M1. It is entirely a meme, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's what you do with Anton now. That's what he is. He just is a meme. I don't know how his voice actor is exclusively cast as the Bad Electric character, but he's done it. He's found a way to be typecast.
I'm assuming, is he also the voice of Razor?
No, he's Sino.
Oh, Sino? That's funny.
The other one.
Yeah, okay. Dude, electric characters have such a bad
He's Xien, Anton, and Sino.
Oh, wait, that's actually really funny.
Yeah, he is somehow typecast as the Bad Electric DPS. Yeah,
I mean, I think, whether we put him in tier 5 or tier 0, I think it is kind of difficult to get a good reading on this Anton character. I've myself, and also from other characters, I've seen people, or rather from other creators, I've seen people do pretty well with Anton. I've seen, at this point, like 1,000.
The meme team is pretty good.
Yeah, and it, especially if you're able to get off like short burst rotations or short fights, like I think Anton actually, I've seen some really, really fast Shiyu defense clears with Anton. But again, it is something, or at least for me, it's one of those cases where, like, on average, if you start taking Anton into some of these teams, like, his damage just, like, sorry, you can't see this, but I'm doing like a roller coaster falls down motion with my hand.
Yeah, so you don't have, if you don't give him Astra, he's not a character.
Yeah.
Essentially. I will actually say Anton T0. Okay. Because he doesn't have a team without Astra. He's like sort of not playable. Sort of.
Yeah.
The difference is between a good character and a bad character needing supports is the good character can reasonably clear without their supports. The bad character won't be playable.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I see her on your list. If you want, we could just go through the A ranks first.
Yeah, let's talk about Neko. Absolutely.
Oh, this sort of A
rank.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. This A rank. Okay, yeah. How do you feel about Neko?
It's funny that Neko is arguably worse than Billy and Corin, despite being a standard S rank version of the same characters. I think the thing about Neko is she does have S rank mindscapes. They are reasonably obtainable if you play for long enough.
And they do increase their DPS. Like if you do end up getting, like some M6 Neko, I do think it, like, I agree with you. It is something where you would eventually find value in the character, And at this point, I mean, who knows when our next selector is going to be, right, guys? surely
Yeah.
third anniversary.
I mean, every
Or
year,
second anniversary.
at this point, every year they're going to do one. They're not going to backtrack on that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Personally, the only reason why I can't really see myself putting Neko any higher, honestly, I don't even know if I could put her like in the same category as characters like Billy and Corin, is because even even if you take all these characters away from team combos like Astra or Trigger, man, playing Neko by herself has got to be one of like the most miserable experiences I've ever had in the game. Like,
It's really sad how difficult it is to hit her EX, because you can't use it when you want it to. It has to be, it's okay. It's mostly that you can't use it after a quick assist. You have to be, because her quick assist puts her away from the enemy. You want a quick assist EX, you cannot. And it's quite frustrating. But even if we ignore that and pretend everything works perfectly, Echo just isn't very good.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the truth, you know, like the damage is lacking, everything is lacking. It's unfortunate too, because again, I do think that, you know, though she does kind of still have like her title or branding as an S rank character, you know, even unlike Grace at this point, who like maybe you could argue, and we'll get to later, has like gotten a bit of love and life from like a new character being introduced. I hope, or I pray that at some point they'll introduce some sort of additional character to Neko that'll make her a bit stronger, the same way that again, as a bit of a spoiler, Vivian did buff and help out Grace a little bit, but at least for right now and what's currently released, Neko is just, she's got to be down here.
She's just kind of abysmal.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Grace or Sokaku?
We could talk about Sokaku first. Yeah, let's start with,
is Sokaku T5 or T4?
Sorry, one sec. I think Sokaku is.
Shout out to Deep for helping players by recommending they use Fanged Metal on Billy.
I think Sokaku
Corin,
lands in tier 5.
So
I don't.
funny.
Me personally, you know, this is her as a DPS.
Okay, so you think Sokaku T5?
Yeah, I think, you know, if you want to put her like equal to or maybe like ahead of some of the tier 5 characters, I think that's okay. I'd be more curious actually as to what you believe is her like her best team.
It's probably Astra Nicole. If
it's,
but you can use Lycon, you can use Lighter. The problem with Lighter is you need a Son of Calydon or a support agent, not support, or an attack agent. And if you have an attack agent in the team, you're probably not playing Sokaku DPS.
Exactly. Yeah. So you just like lock yourself out of Astra. It's like Ellen, but even worse. Like old Ellen.
Whoa. Ellen got buffed. Whoa. Hey, put some respect on Ellen's name.
Old Ellen.
But yes,
Ellen.
Sokaku is basically as good as old Ellen.
Yeah. And again, you know, I don't know if I'd necessarily ever put I don't even know if I'd put old Ellen in tier 5. I would probably still hold old tier 5. Old Ellen, you'd put Ellen in tier 5.
You'd put old Ellen in T0?
No, I would put her. I thought I'd put her in like tier 4.
Oh, I'd put her in T5 or T0.
Tier 5,
wait, hold on.
Damn, that is crazy. Even with like best teams? Oh, that's crazy. Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot more. Okay, I mean, it doesn't matter because like obviously
she's been buffed. We can mask off. Old Ellen was real bad.
Yeah. The thing is though, I do want to say that again, I've seen more tech and you know, involvement of Sokaku. You know, whether or not that's necessarily as DPS, it is what it is. But I've watched enough, like honestly, enough A rank clears of DPS Sokaku that I am a bit of a believer of that. Like, you know, if you don't have access to an ice DPS, and well, let's just be honest, like there's a reoccurring ice boss in most deadly assaults, or it feels like there's always an opportunity for you to use Sokaku somewhere. I feel like she's fine. If you want to jump her to tier 4, I think it would maybe be like it would be interesting to see who else we put in tier 4. But otherwise,
we'll go with T5. I think I'm good with it.
Yeah. Okay. If we want to move things up, of course, we can always do that as
we can always.
Okay.
Let's talk about Grace.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with T5. If you do not have Vivian, Grace is T0.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick my neck out here.
Okay.
I actually played the Grace and Vivian team quite a bit. Yeah, it's not like as crazy of like a call. I'm not gonna say something crazy like that. I definitely think she is the okay, buddy. Okay, okay. If you didn't see Jay Stern through his Grace.
Well, you said you were sticking your neck out and taking a crazy shot. I heard you.
Well, I don't think she's past the tier 5,
right.
But I would probably say she's. Looking at this list,
do you want to put her T4?
No, I think she's just like she cannot be beaten as the tier 5 DPS. I think she is like just hands down the best tier 5 DPS.
I can go with that. I can support that. I do think you specifically need Vivian.
Yeah.
And
if you don't
Astra
have Vivian,
too.
just get out. Like it's chopped. It just don't. Listen, only with Vivian.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had such a good performance from Grace before when testing her, except for when Vivian came out. It was, and let me tell you, I've done a lot of Grace testing. I love Grace. That character before Vivian was oh my god.
If you don't know how you play Grace in Vivian Astra, you put her on Time Weaver, you put her on Chaos Jazz, and you EX a lot.
Yeah.
Grace is like it has to be on field because she needs the energy generation.
Mm-hmm.
It is easier to play with Mindscapes because she gets a little more energy. Yeah, T5.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to be bold, again, personally, I'm not seeing. I've always felt this way about tier lists. I see no difference between like the bottom. If someone's at the very end, tail end of a tier 4, top of a T5, that's like honestly for me, it's the exact same thing. Like obviously top of tier 0 to like bottom of tier 5, like they're interchangeable. Like there's probably a week where the Deadly Assault boss like buff would change their placements, which is that's whatever for me. That said, do you want to move now to? I mean, you've ordered it a little bit. Like, do you want to go with?
Yeah, I do want to talk about Piper. I think Piper is a better character with Vivian Astra than Grace. I am comfortable with Piper T4.
Yeah. I'm also inclined to agree. I feel like Piper is just, she's about as solid as can be of like a free to play option. I don't think she really. I'll be honest, I've seen a lot of crazy takes about Piper. I've seen people hail this character as the gospel. Really,
Piper is probably the best A-rank DPS.
Yeah.
Granted, because she is Anomaly, there is like an investment ceiling drives-wise, but it's fine because Piper actually does have access to S-rank Mindscapes now in Vivian M1, Vivian M2, Astra M1, Astra M2. I am pretty comfortable with T4 Piper.
Yeah, I was never gonna put her any higher than that. What I was gonna say though is I've seen people like put her really high, like tier 3, tier 2,
kind of base.
Which is hey, like if you get the clear, you get the clear. I know there was like a big, there was a whole big discussion about like this whole, Piper versus Jane, who's better, who's worse, and we'll get into that, I'm sure in a
Piper
moment.
Piper was better, and then they made Vivian.
Yeah, exactly. And again, if we're talking about overall, some people might not have Vivian. If you're not a proxy Vivian, Vivian shipper, maybe you skip Vivian. It's always important, as we mentioned earlier, to like consider all angles. I think Piper's still worth at her.
If you ship with yourself, is it shipping or simping?
I'll leave that for the comment section, and you can decide that for yourself. So I don't get involved in another war, because I think that's a brewing that's a stack of pitchforks at your doorstep. Okay, who do you want to do next? Do you want to do Jane? Oh, actually, I guess.
Do you want to do Haramasa or Jane? Because we can just talk about Jane.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, I guess it's actually fair to talk about Jane. I was gonna add a little bit more about Piper, but I can just talk about it in the Jane section.
So this is Jane. Jane is a character who was a struggle bus for the longest time, and then she got an indirect buff in the form of Vivian. So what does that mean? If you don't know how Vivian's kit works, she has this mechanic called a bloom, which is that Vivian will do a portion of the original anomaly damage whenever your character applies an EX special or triggers an anomaly. So because Jane directly increases the damage of assault, the blooms from Jane will do more damage than the blooms from Piper. The downside of this is Jane has a more difficult time accessing all of the blooms because you do need to consume them. This is mitigated with Astra, but if there was a character who does not use their EX special as often as Astra, it could be more problematic.
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly what you said. I think there were many people, and I'm not even just saying, like, you could go to any platform, testers, theory crafters, players, you'd see everywhere, like, really, like, the queen is dead. Like, Jane, once one of the most powerful characters in the game, like, showing up with extremely difficult to play Shiyu defenses or deadly assaults. Like, it really felt, I think literally you and I, Jason, both in the last tier list and like on stream, we both had like, Jane without
I gave you a
Bernice
hot take. I gave you a hot take and I was like, you know what? Try it.
Yeah, like try Jane without, like, I think it was at the time just Bernice, right?
Yes.
And it is exactly as it sounds. Long gone are the days where people are pulling up with Seth, Caesar, solo DPS Jane. It really was like a bit of like a renaissance for her with the introduction of Vivian. Honestly, I think leaving her in tier 3 for me is probably where I think she'll ever, or is probably where she'll probably stay.
I think Jane is the bottom of T3.
Yeah, I'm as far as I could tell, they didn't. To be clear, they only added Ellen's Lost Void kit to the game, right? I'm not.
Yes.
Sometimes
Ellen is the only character who got directly buffed.
Yeah. If Jane ends up in that direction, I'm actually kind of a fan of Jane's Lost Void kit. Maybe not for necessarily its damage, but I think it's one of the more fun Lost Void kits to play. Like, I'm kind of a fan of just sitting as like a Beyblade for like 10 minutes or whatever, however long. I think it's like extended by a couple seconds or something. I like that. I also kind of like really how Jane plays as a character, because I think it more recently aligns with how they want like all DPSs to be played, where like now we have characters like Jafufu, Trigger, where it's like, yeah, you're on the field, kind of, like, quote unquote, like kind of on the field, but not really. And I think Jane is, a character that definitely benefits from that, definitely compared to some of the other A rank or lower S rank characters. I think she's fine in tier 3. To that point, and to like get back on like, on Piper, I think especially now with like the way that some of the teams have played out and even some of the bosses, I just feel like Jane is better suited and performs better, at least with like the current roster of characters that we have to deal with. I don't know if you've tried it, and not saying that, I'm definitely not a god gamer or anything like that, but I don't know, man. I hate picking Piper into Miasma when I do some of my tests.
The Miasma Priest?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's something about that character, just I can't do it. Maybe skill issue. I cannot enjoy myself. And again, not to say that Jane is like insanely good at beating the Miasma Priest, but like I just distinctly in my testing with Piper, I was sitting there like, okay, you win. Like, like I'm trying to get a clear where I don't fall over and tumble like 5 times in a row. It's just
okay. So if you don't know how the Miasma Priest works, it has 20% anomaly buildup resistance.
Yeah.
And while it has the shield, it's an extra 20%, but that doesn't matter. So all anomaly is going to fundamentally struggle more. It also has 40% ice resistance, so you're just not really going to succeed with ice anomaly. Which is potentially a great example of the it still clears argument.
Exactly.
And why I think it's problematic. Yeah, you can still clear with Miyabi on the Miasma Priest. Should you be doing it and should you be recommending it? Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely. That's what I mean when I say it still clears is not an argument that I like and that I hold in high regard.
We'll have to see. I think a bit of a hot take. I want to revisit this at some point in the future. Like you said, you only do it like at the end of every version. I'm curious if we don't like have enough data by the time the next character comes out.
Oh, you want to talk about the 2.1 physical anomaly character?
Well, no. I'm just saying, I'm curious if by that point, like, as you said, like, they've got to be introducing something physical related for a reason, or like they've got to be releasing one at some point because of their like double physical release. I could definitely see maybe like if there's more appearance of like Jane as a physical character, maybe there's some aspect of the boss that maybe introduces Jane as a bit of like a stronger character, or she sees a bit more usage. Whatever the case is, I'm already pretty interested in honestly how Jane will pan out. I've already honestly been using her a bit more. Okay, sorry. Jason sent me something. That's not what I'm talking about. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. Yeah. No. In any case, yeah, I'm just interested in how Jane will pan out and feel in the future. I think when we officially get a physical deadly assault boss, I want to see if people's perceptions and like takes on on Jane don't improve a bit more.
I think they'll improve, absolutely.
Yeah. It's just a bit unfair right now because like most other is it actually is physical the only element that doesn't have a dedicated deadly assault boss?
Yes.
Yeah, that's like
it is the only one.
That's kind of messed up. Yeah, like
half of them are Ice Week, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think Jane is fine in tier 3. Maybe we'll see how she pans out. Do you want to talk about the next character on your list?
Haramasa,
the free man himself.
I honestly want to let you take the lead on Haramasa. You have probably a more grounded opinion.
Okay. I would argue that I have read more opinions about Haramasa. Yes. Like I to be clear, I am no Haramasa expert. I've seen the quote unquote like optimal rotations. I've seen the people try things with and without like manual chain. Not to say that manual chain's the most insane thing ever, but I've seen the optimizations for Haramasa. I just can't do them. Like I am on record on stream with Jason having done the world's first ever 8 quiver combo. Only 8 quiver combo.
Yes, the 8 quiver combo.
And with that, I do think that, again, Haramasa is a character that, yeah, you could squeeze the damage out of him. Is he like necessarily easy to play? Definitely not. I would almost say that he kind of, okay, I don't know if I'd necessarily put him here, but I would say that, for wherever I have him, he kind of fills like almost the exact opposite role to like the Billy and Corin, where it's like, yeah, their damage is a little bit lacking, but it's not like insanely difficult to like learn or how to play these characters. And for me, Haramasa he might have the damage, but like, damn, if you won't be sweating or trying in order to hit that. And again, for me, I think regardless of like what optimizations you do, personally, something that I found very annoying, and also why, like, again, as a bit of a spoiler, I value Lighter so much. If there's ever a character that feels like you're incentivized to stick to a specific stun window and hitting everything like perfectly within a stun window, I generally see that as like not like incredibly difficult, but like a bit of like a notch or like a bit of like a slap on the wrist for like their performance. Just because that does feel a bit more difficult to kind of keep in mind, because sometimes things happen, right? Like, like if you're doing Shiyu, there's multiple enemies at times, right? If you're doing Deadly Assault, like sometimes like things don't line up in the rotation. You don't always play perfectly. Like that's just the truth. And I think that if, especially compared to some of the other Anomaly characters, like I've felt the pains, and as an Evelyn lover, like really as an Evelyn lover, I've felt the pain of like missing like an ultimate or like missing like a rotation under a stun window, and you're like,
Okay, so
like,
not hitting your thresholds. Okay, yeah.
like, you know,
Okay, I'm gonna ask. Do you think Haru is T5?
I know there is a good silent majority of the game that really thinks Haramasa should be in tier 5. Like, I know there's a lot of people that
That's kind of what I wanted to get at.
Yeah.
I do think you can comfortably put Haramasa in T4, but for a majority of players, he is the T5 GOAT.
Yeah, I think, okay, here's what I'll say about Haramasa. Maybe this is like one of my more like hot takes on the list.
Okay.
I think everyone is willing to put them in tier 4, but I promise you, if you just woke up one day and I told you to like play Haramasa, like no prep, no nothing, this character's straight tier 5. Like, it's just like, yeah, you could say that like with some practice and some nuance and some this and some that and some fairy dust and whatnot, you can get to like the tier 4 average. But like, you know, realistically, who is grabbing Haramasa? If you love Haramasa and you're grabbing him, okay.
Right? I am currently of the opinion that Haramasa's best performance is T4. That's if you know how to play him correctly.
I can see that. Yeah, I'm more than happy to say that. I don't. Would you put him ahead of Piper?
No.
Okay, that's where I landed on my. I think that Vivian Piper is really broken. Or sorry, I just think that Vivian's really good, but you know, not to spoiler too much. But yeah, I think putting him in tier 4 is fine. I just know that, you know, if you walked up to like a Zenless player on the street and you ask them like if they're using their Haramasa or if they think that he's difficult or like worthwhile, they're gonna say no. And like, again, that's fine. You know, we're talking about peaks. We're not necessarily only talking about like, you know.
Well, I did. Like, the valleys matter, and like, yeah, Haramasa is a character that's hard to pick up.
Yeah.
I do think his best possible performance is T4. I don't think he had a chance to escape it. His minimum performance is probably good enough to be T4 as well.
Yeah, I think if you know, okay, if you're not a record holder like me, I do think he still probably lands in tier 4 if you're learning how to play him. Like really, like, you know, putting the time into it to learning how to play him.
If you are a new player, you cannot get Haramasa anymore, by the way.
You can, well, if he ever comes back, I'm banning.
Yes, if he ever comes back, you can spend money for him.
Yeah.
But him being free is no longer an excuse.
Yeah, I would also like to say that of the Electro DPS, you know, although I get like, you know, a lot of people, or maybe like a decent amount of people have Yanagi. If you don't have Yanagi, you're not like sitting on like an endless pool of Electro DPS.
You are considering limiteds. There are 3.
It's oh my god, I completely forgot about Anby.
You forgot about Anby?
I completely. Oh,
we're talking about Anby next. Anby's T3, debatably T4.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, I think Haramasa is okay in the tier 4 slot. Yeah, I think everyone and their mother would agree that this is not an easy to play character. If you can play him, that's fine. But like, I think if you try to introduce someone to the game and you tell them to play Haramasa, I think their quality of life and their enjoyment of the game would be much less if you told them to just press E on Yanagi like 3 times. You know what I mean?
Yes. Like I actually want to pivot from this because I do want to talk about Anby. I think people have, despite being significantly easier to play than Haramasa, I think people have the exact same experience. Where they get frustrated by her chain attack being small, or they get frustrated by not being able to do the dodge counters correctly. Mm-hmm. I kind of think people have the same experience where they don't enjoy playing Anby. That seems to be the overwhelming thing about her. She's just not enjoyable to play.
You know, it's actually so funny that you bring this up. So, not a plug, swear on my life, not a plug. When I did my most recent Caesar video, like one of the main reasons why I felt like Caesar still has some value is because there are characters like that exists in the game, that although you may be sacrificing some DPS, like you won't have Astra or you won't have like Nicole, it does unironically feel like, you know, having the protection or the safety of a character, or having like a supportive character that allows you to do what you want like more freely, does make some of these characters unironically like much like livelier and feel more alive. So with that, what I'm just trying to get at here is that, like, yeah, I definitely agree. Like some of my early Anby testing, like the bosses I was testing on at the time were not swinging at me like a madman. They really weren't. And a lot of my early testing was like, oh, okay, like, well, how does she do if I have like a stunner with her, or if I have like, you know, if I have like a Caesar? And that is honestly what my testing showed. It was that like Anby with a lot of the Caesar teams, I'm skill issued sometimes. My higher scores with Anby were the Caesar teams.
Let's go! Holy! Yeah. I'm going to give you a spoiler. I'm not going to have very nice things to say about Caesar.
Yeah, I'm positive, and you know, we can play good cop, bad cop.
Okay, I like that idea.
But again, to the credit of Anby, I don't think she is definitely not where I think most people thought she would land. But it's also because, like, low key, I feel like they just didn't, you know, I don't know what it is. They just didn't introduce, I guess, like bosses that feel, or like even encounters that feel like Anby coded.
The UCC is supposed to be?
Yeah, but then, like, okay, if I can just be so honest with you.
It's such UCC, a Yanagi boss.
Yeah, UCC gets pieced up by Yanagi, and it's like really not close. Like that character like destroys that boss, and honestly, UCC is kind of just like maybe one of the easier bosses in general to play.
It is. The Electric Wave bosses in general are easier. The only okay, so I talked earlier about how I did a less than 72-hour 3-star Deadly Assault on a fresh account. It's because the Typhon Destroyer stuns itself. So you get the 5k performance points guaranteed. The builds of the characters didn't exactly matter.
Gotcha.
That's the reason we were able to do it.
I think that's fair. I think that's fine. Again, to your point though about Anby's like her ease of play, right. I think it is fair to say that she also probably like takes a bit of a hit in terms of ease of play, just because, again, I think they were kind of cooking with their idea of like the whole count your shurikens thing. But for the average player, and I'm sure just in general, that can be kind of annoying to like work around and build around and make sure all your buffs are like in time and tune with. So if you want to leave her in tier 3, I think that's fine. I don't know if I would put her. Well, now you're hovering over tier 4. I don't know if I'd.
Well, I've been moving her the entire time.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I don't know where she would land. She, to me, I don't know. So many of these characters feel like, yeah, they kind of feel bad right now, but like, what if they introduce like a boss, or like, what if like an encounter, or like, what Anby
needs is a support.
Yeah.
She specifically needs an agent who does aftershock damage off field, and like aftershock damage, not stun damage.
Yeah. And again, I think, you know, maybe we'll see that in the future. I can't say for now.
I hope it's Orpheus.
I think it's safe to put her. Oh yeah, is it the Zenless 2.0 red hair trailer?
I mean, Orpheus is in the game. She's in a quest. She's one of the Trigger squad mates.
Hey! You said story skipper for. Okay. In any case, I think fair is fair. Are you gonna leave her in tier 3?
This is what I think damage wise, she's similar enough to Jane. I think there is more somehow there's more competition because there are more limiteds for electric. And I do think Yanagi is, spoiler, I'm putting Yanagi in T2.
Okay.
I think Yanagi is significantly better than Anby. I do think Anby is better than Haramasa. I am pretty comfortable with that statement. The question is whether or not it's a full tier. I'm just gonna go with yes. I'm gonna leave her at T3.
Yeah. To be fair, Okay, actually, I mean, while we're on the topic of her, we might as well bring up the pink hair. 130. Okay, I am also a Yanagi lover. I love this character genuinely.
Yeah.
She, despite my hair pulling to try and get like every aspect of her kit explained, she is surprisingly like the character I have the most comfortable time playing. In like 99% of cases. That might also just be because I was trying to kill Bringer for like, I don't know, like
Oh, you're trying to kill
200
Bringer?
hours with Miyabi.
Oh,
Yanagi.
the trick for doing that is you need to use freezing to get 3 Miyabi enhanced basics and the ultimate on every stun. Otherwise, you're not doing enough damage.
Yeah.
So at that point, you might as well learn Mono Ice and have it be a little easier.
In any case, this was when Deadly Assault first came out. I think it was as soon as Bringer came out with
then
with Miyabi.
It was a lot easier then. It was a lot.
Yeah, things have changed.
Things have changed.
Sure. But to her credit, like I think one of the things I like the most about Yanagi, aside from her damage, which again I think is, I think when Yanagi came out was like right after Jane, and everyone's like, oh, but is Yanagi really gonna be higher DPS than Jane? And it was like a ridiculous, but her damage is respectable, and honestly, with her pairing and the way that she is as a character, she is pretty versatile. Like, if you do end up using her as a mono DPS or like as a solo DPS, that's fine. She's got like the Yanagi solo DPS with what is it, Reena Seth?
Or like Trigger Reena or Astra Reena or Astra Trigger, anything like that. Like
she's got a number of BIS teams, honestly, which is pretty cool, honestly. I do, however, want to say that I think what I value the most about her is that though, of course, you drop a little bit in performance, I absolutely love that this is a character who had way, way, way more like advanced and technical mechanics to her, but you would still do pretty well if you just pressed EX special after there's an anomaly on the boss. Like if that's all you really did, like
that's...
I think that's like a pretty fair character.
Okay, so I am of the opinion Yanagi's best team is Vivi and Astra, and I don't think it's particularly close. I think Vivi and Yanagi is one of my favorite teams at the moment. And just pressing EX, you want to set up your anomalies so they're being triggered one after the other. That essentially does boil down to pressing EX after you trigger an anomaly.
Yeah. It's just, I think she's fantastic. Honestly, again, I can't really think of a character that I'd reach for more whenever I see Electric, which I think is also kind of like a thumbs up, a bit of a badge for her.
I think the biggest thing is I want a option that is as good as Astra without being Astra, because I would like to have Astra available while still playing Yanagi Vivian.
Yanagi with Vivian.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, again, I think that's fair. I guess it's really that, like, what you have to, what is it? It's like Lighter and Evelyn, or like Evelyn is like fighting with Yanagi to see like who gets Astra.
We've talked off stream about what balancing DA clears looks like.
Yeah. And
that is usually the thing, because right now you only have one Astra, and the Astra team is the one that is the hardest to balance. Actually, given the current lineups, it's pretty easy now that Yishun has released.
Yeah. Yishun having Pan and Jufufu is that honestly a lifesaver. Really having like a dedicated team that doesn't have to be like an Astra team and still be like pretty high performing, I think is quite nice. I also think that's like really cool as for why they decided to make a Yishuan scale with HP and release like a crit damage scaler. I think that's pretty cool in terms of like, hey guys, we don't want to say Astra at the end of every team video. It's
also the great thing about Hugo that he doesn't take Astra.
Yeah, exactly. But that dude, I'll be honest, the Hugo has got to be like, what, he's got like sub 30% account ownership.
Yeah, I think Hugo is a super feast or famine character as well.
Yeah.
You're either hitting your thresholds and in Deadly Assault getting lucky with the RNG to get the amount of stuns you need to get the performance you're looking for, or you're not having a great time.
Exactly.
But the counter argument of that is, if you're doing damage on Hugo, you're doing damage on Hugo, and the damage is pretty consistent. There's not a ton to screw up when all you need to do is press ultimate or EX to do all of your damage.
Yeah, and at this point, honestly,
that is something that is valuable about him. He doesn't take Astro, which is less valuable now than it was when he released. When Hugo released, I put him at T3 with Anby. I do think he's better than Anby. I also am kind of comfortable standing by that statement. I'm aware it's a hot take, but I'm pretty comfortable standing by it.
Well, on that note, why don't we talk about Hugo to break him down a little bit, because we've already kind of okay, so if we want to talk about Hugo, so you've already said a bit. You can add on to it as well. I actually had an incredibly fun time playing Hugo. I think when I saw Hugo, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of laughing at how goofy they made the relationship between like Hugo and Lycone, like in the story.
Ooh,
like that was one of the, like I thought it was really goofy, like the whole like, you know, like, oh, and we were rebellious like as like youngins, and then we became older, and like now it's like this tense, okay, whether you want to ship them together or not, like love-hate relationship is totally up to you. But I originally was not super big on Hugo. Like I didn't even really like enjoy the idea of testing Hugo. But then when I played him, like he's honestly like, as a, I wouldn't say casual, but as someone that doesn't have like every single min-max optimization down, I'm actually a big fan of the way that Hugo plays. Like it is really simple, and like honestly, like the double chain cancel thing, that's like maybe one of like my most bread and butter outside of like the Astra held basic attack thing. Those are like some of the only like major consistent optimizations I do, like regardless of what content I'm using him in. And he performs amazingly. Like honestly, for ice teams, like I was using him in, I think it was the Deadly Assault before the most recent one, like a lot. Or like I was using him and performing, I should say, the most consistently for that Deadly Assault. I think it was like right before Ellen came out, or Ellen's buff came out. Like I was using him like all the time, and it was fun, honestly. Like yeah, you do kind of need 2 stunners, and his free-to-play teams feel much
it's not worse. That you need 2 stuns, it's that you need Lighter.
Yeah, fair enough.
But Hugo needs Lighter more than anyone else besides maybe Soldier 11, who we forgot to put on the tier list.
Oh, it's okay. I have Soldier's at the Soldier's there for you, right?
Oh yes.
Wait, last tier list, did we forget?
No, we forgot to put her. I thought if we were going down up, we forgot to put her down.
It's okay. The order is
fine. It doesn't matter. Hugo, he's really simple, but at the same time, the simplicity can be a curse if you're trying to super min-max, because you can get real dependent on enemy RNG to get the specific number of stuns that you need to hit for a perfect run, and it's real frustrating. But anyway, that's like apparently a personal problem.
It's okay. I've got plenty of those, honestly, man. I've got dozens of that at this point.
Hugo is the character that we pulled on the free-to-play account.
Oh, interesting.
So okay. I'm familiar with a lot of his strengths and his struggles. I think Hugo is a really, as long as you have Lighter, he's super player friendly. Because there's just not a ton to screw up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm honestly, I'd have a tough time like leaving him outside of tier 3. Like I feel like
I don't think he ever goes below T3. I think T3 is like, I know the arguments for Hugo T2. I know what they are. I just don't exactly agree with them.
I mean, again, like, because was it you that found like there was like a Jufufu team with like with Hugo?
It's worse than it's worse than Lycon.
Oh yeah. Like I don't remember who. So there was like some like Hugo team that got cooked up with 2.0. Even with or like regardless of this, I still think that like again, compared to who you're gonna have in like the tier 2 to tier 1, I think again, his greatest asset for me, truthfully, is that like outside of the RNG that you mentioned, it is really hard to mess this guy up.
Yeah.
Like I cannot understate. Like there is maybe no other DPS in the game that feels as easy to play as Hugo. Maybe,
no, there really isn't.
Maybe like tied with or like a little bit easier. Like once you get to know Miyabi, she's like also like a baseline, like pretty easy to play. But like I think Hugo's like, okay, it's pretty much learn how to play your stunners or like your supports, and then like you've got it. Yeah, but I think he's fine in tier 3.
I am pretty comfortably gonna put Ellen 1 tier below him.
Oh wow!
Even post buff,
current Ellen, you're gonna even post buff. You're gonna put Ellen.
I'm gonna put Ellen 1 tier below Hugo.
Ooh, Ellen 1 tier below Hugo.
I am comfortable with this. Yes, Ellen got buffed. Ellen got buffed by about 50%.
Mm-hmm.
It is significantly easier to do well with Ellen. She's so much better. It's like not even close.
Yeah. I think my... okay, you can argue... I'm not putting her in tier 2 or anything crazy like that. Don't get me wrong. Which is... I'm not like... Again, like I said, bouncing between like the top and bottom of a tier, or like even interchangeably between one tier, like really, are we gonna take out like a pitchfork to argue that like Ellen is tier 3 instead of tier 4? Like it's not.
Yeah, you can. You kind of can. You can. Really? There will be people who will argue whether or not Ellen is better than Anby, which I think is which is I guess the debate. Whether or not Anby deserves T3. Debate.
Oh, that is an interesting take. I think, okay, the thing is, all right, we've kind of rated easiness, or like accessibility, not accessibility, but like learnability, like how easy it is to play and how comfortable a character is to play. I think pretty much every single change that they added to Ellen made her slightly easier to play in some way, shape, or form. And like, to be honest, though, I don't think like numbers to numbers, I haven't tested Anby recently enough to be like, yes, and this is exactly every single fight. I want you to Ellen.
Actually, once we're on the tier list, I want you to play Anby. I want to watch you play Anby once we're done the tier list.
Oh, once we're done with the tier list, or
I mean, you want to do it right now? We can take a break.
We could do it after. We could do it after. Just because, like, you should see my list right now. Like, I've got like a perfect. Okay. In any case, I think Ellen, is an easier to play character than Anby. Would you agree?
Sure.
Okay.
You know what? Okay. Pause. I have a hot take.
Okay. Go ahead. Ooh. Okay. If you move them all down, I could see that. I could see moving all of them down.
Ooh, it's a hot take.
That is a crazy. Okay, the hot take, however,
I mean, at that point, you could just scoot.
Kind of. If I'm being completely honest with you, the argument against what you're about to do, as opposed to just leaving Hugo at the top of tier 3, is literally that I think most people don't own Hugo to even test.
Fortunately, I think the people who do own Hugo own Lighter, so it doesn't matter. If you're interested in Hugo, you're most likely interested in Lighter.
Well, I mean more so like for people to argue like, oh, Jane is worse or better than Hugo or Anby. Like, I think a lot of people, like I've seen this a lot. Like, people will like reach out and say like, no, like Ellen is so good, like Ellen deserves to be tier 3, and sometimes they won't even argue. Like, I've seen this actually more recently. Like, people will argue for a character being strong but not relate them at all to the characters in the tier. They're just like, I think, and they like almost like just dart it. They're just like, Anby's tier 2 or like Anby's tier 3, and they don't like consider like maybe some of the other characters that are around. And honestly, if people consider like Hugo, okay, I would definitely not put Hugo in tier 4, but like if anyone were ever questioning of like you putting like Jane and the Anby and like the Ellen down, it would have to be because like they haven't seen how easy he is to play. Like both his damage performance is good.
Oh, we still have
and,
to
like,
put
his
we still have to
ease
put
play
down
is good.
Xien. Okay, hold on. I don't. Okay, I'm gonna stick with this.
Oh, that's
Not yet.
hold on. I have to ask if you're gonna move. Okay, sorry, I'm moving my list to kind of like formulate to kind of look like as to like what you had. Do you think
Right.
that Jane is that separate from Juyuan and Hugo?
Oh, you want to put Xien and Hugo together?
I think if we're talking about like good damage or like decent damage with like, you know, with the ease of play as a factor, I think it's really difficult not to talk about, like, honestly, Juyuan and Jane. Like, if you want to talk about like difficulty, I still think like Ellen kind of loses a bit of a notch because I don't think her damage is quite at Hugo. Like, for sure, I agree. However, Anby loses a notch because she's like a little bit more difficult to play.
Okay, you know what? I need 7 tiers. You know.
Yeah, one more. Okay.
I'm adding a tier.
Okay, let me see. So let me just change the colors of this.
I think I'm adding a tier because I think I do want to do this, and then this also gives me somewhere to put Xien without it being a super unreasonable take. Because I do think Xien is better than Haramasa, even at max.
Oh yeah. Okay. So, okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
But wait. So, just off the change, you would put. Okay, so yours would look like this.
I'd just be adding a tier just for Hugo.
I could see that. I would probably not fight you on GUN at the top of tier 4, or like somewhere in tier 4.
Yeah.
I think the only thing for me is
I think if you look at characters without their engines, Xien's absolutely T3. Maybe even T2.
Yes.
Xien, if you're unaware, Xien doesn't have an S rank engine.
Sorry, say again.
If you're unaware, Xien does not have a S rank engine, essentially.
Yes, her W engine is pretty poor.
Her best in slot engine is either the Riot Suppressor or the Brimstone, and they are directly similar to each other.
Yeah, they are like very comparable to each other.
And that's like the thing about Xien. She doesn't have an engine, but she is quite good despite not having one.
Well, the only
and if you want to give her points for if you want to give her points for being good without an S rank engine, I am happy to put her at T3.
If you want to say that though, wouldn't you also have to give points to Anby for being as good as she is without a real support?
No, because that Xien's S rank engine doesn't exist. Anby's support isn't here.
I feel so uncomfortable putting Juyuan away from Hugo because like I really in my mind I really do put them like very similar to each other. Like again, I'm not necessarily in damage performance, but like as an overall like the way that I perceive Juyuan, it's like they're both solid, great performing DPS. Like they have a team, like a super excellent team that you can like learn. Okay,
so you want to put Xien with Hugo. Okay. I think that's interesting.
That's my read. I think that's my read. Because again, like I don't like though you may see that like the damage is like a little bit better or worse. Honestly, it is what it is. Like again, you have to deal with like an ether character versus like an ice boss, like an ether boss versus like an ice boss. So like damage aside, I think GUN is beating the like living hell out of UCC. She's beating the living hell out of like most short encounter fights, right? Like I think GUN does perform quite well in those. And just in general, like I don't remember the last time someone's like, "Oh, can you please teach me how to play GUN?" Like I've almost never gotten that question before, which I think is like a good sign for the character. Like she's pretty self-explanatory.
I think people
in terms of like how to play
don't know the role cancel, but that's fine.
Sure,
it's not that good. I feel the same way about Yizen's cancels. They're there. They're pretty inconsequential.
Yeah, and again, like if you get it, you get it. That's fine. But like again, some people, like I've seen people like come into like the Haramasa, they're like, I watched this, I still don't know how to play him. Like, sorry, man.
Okay,
And,
so
like,
I'm gonna give a personal opinion.
okay.
If this was solely my list, I would put Xien on T4. If you want to put her T3, I support you, and I'm gonna go with it.
No, it's, I think, you know, as we have the list, I think there's a lot of things that we agree on, but it's like, I think it's equally fine to disagree on a few things. If you want to put your UN in tier 4, I think that's fine. We're going to have both POVs of this tier list anyways. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, if you have her in tier 4, I think that's also fine.
Okay, then I'm gonna put Xien where I think she should be. Should be like here. If you, I honestly respect the take for Xien on T3. I do want to mention again, if you look at characters without their S rank engines, Xien's actually one of the better, straight up, maybe even like one of the best engineless characters.
Yeah. Every other character that I've ever like tested, done calcs for, everything, GUN is like, I think literally the only character whose W engine was like, wow, did I make a mistake? Or like, what the hell just happened? Everyone else is like, there's like a pretty side, like it was probably after GUN that they're like, wait a second, we have to make the W engine kind of incentivize, like you kind of have to incentivize pulling for this thing, which is why like even some of these other ones like Anby's and like, what is it, Haramasa, and I think Evelyn's, they're like stat sticks now. Like they're just generally usable. So even if you don't like use them specifically for the character, you still got value from them. I think that's fine.
Okay.
I just realized I didn't timestamp that. Probably like 46.
I think it's a really interesting take. I think Xien is cool. I went Xien to get the Allen buff where they go, yeah, her core now buffs all of her damage.
That would be great. That would be, dude.
Please, just do it.
She'd be pretty good. She'd be pretty good.
Just do it. Just make her core apply to her ultimate and her chain attack and her EX.
But like as the final commentary towards like GUN, I think part of the reason why they haven't done that is because, again, I think it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. They understand, and the player base I think understands, the character's good, you know, like maybe not amazing, like not insane, but like she, you know, when people talk about like, or when people reach for a character, like, you know, there's a couple characters that people reach for, obviously Miyabi, like probably at this point Xien, maybe still Jane, like after her buff, but like G1's also there. Like if you don't have Miyabi, and like, you know, when you had like pre-Hugo, when you had like the Bringer and what's his name, what is it, Butcher, or like whatever the other bosses, like at the both of the ice bosses at the same time, one of the bosses, if I'm not mistaken, is like also weak to ether. I think that's Butcher. Is it Butcher that's weak to ether too? Like when you have both of them at the exact same time, like on a deadly assault rotation, who did you reach for?
Who did I reach for, you know? With what?
When there were two ice bosses and one of them was the ether weak boss.
Two ice okay, the thing about Xien is she's a Astra character. Is what I would say. So if you don't have Astra available, I wouldn't be playing Xien.
But you could usually dedicate one of the characters to her, right? Or like you could usually dedicate Astra or something to it, right? And also, again, who would you replace in that slot? Like if I mean, I think even marionettes, right?
If I have Astra available, and I would actually just play Evelyn on neutral.
Really, like Evelyn on neutral into like marionettes and stuff?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
Marionette is 200% stun multiplier. It's actually an easier boss than Pompeii.
Huh. Maybe I'm thinking of. Am I thinking of?
Or pretty similar difficulty.
Maybe I'm thinking of. I've tried. I mean, that's fair enough. Like, I mean, you like, fact is fact. Like, numbers are numbers. I'm not gonna deny it. Like, the stun is there, and that's fine. I just think that again, like, I feel like if you know, even if you use like a bit of the flawed data, if you look at like GUN's usage, it's up there for a reason, right? Like, even if it's not for like the most optimal or like insane performance DPS wise, I think she's easily one of like the most solid or like consistent and most like well understood characters that we have, and that does actually affect like her performance by a lot. The same way that you'd probably imagine that like having or not having a signature affects their performance too, right?
Yeah, not having an S rank engine is just, it's a really good thing about Xien. It's also a bad thing about Xien, but it is but it makes her really easy to recommend.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you we kind of tiptoed and talked about her a bit. Do you want to talk about Evelyn as like the other Astra?
I want to talk about Soldier first.
Okay, we could talk Soldier.
Soldier is straight T5. In my opinion, I think Soldier is straight T5. I think if you don't have Lighter and Astra, she's T6, or if you don't have either, she's T0. Actually, no, without Lighter, she just is T0. I think Soldier 11 is a bad character with a good team. That's what I have to say.
I'm gonna try and see if I can get it on my. I don't want to. I want to see if I can open up my sheet real quick to see what my Jufufu.
If you play Jufufu Soldier, you're not gonna do well.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how. Like, I'm just trying to see what exactly my performance was on her for a sec.
I think Soldier 11 is a very bad character who can play a good team, who is on a niche element, which is useful. It's mostly that being fire is kind of really useful right now, because there's a lack of ways to deal with the fire challenges, and they tend to be some of the more difficult bosses.
Yeah, my Soldier 11 Lighter clear was clocking in at about the same performance that my Haramasa trigger was performing with Jufufu.
Yes.
So I'm not convinced.
With with Jufufu.
Yes.
Okay.
I was just curious how Jufufu would perform, like as like a just like if you were to run double stunner, just in general.
You know what? We can mask off T6 Soldier.
You could. I mean, again, is it really going to be so much better if you're like, oh my god, top of tier 6, top of tier 5, or like bottom of tier 5? Like, I think like the Lighter team does help a lot. And like, if you are someone that doesn't have like Evelyn, as she hasn't been rerun, or if you don't have, I don't know, I guess if you just want a fire DPS, or if you feel the need to have a fire DPS, I don't think that you'll like be upset that you have Soldier. Right. But I also don't think you're going to be like thinking to yourself like, oh, yeah, like, again, the same way you said earlier, like the Soldier Kaleda team is not the same, even remotely, to like the Soldier Lighter team, and even as I'm seeing here, it is not being saved by Jufufu either.
I mean, it's literally worse with Jufufu. I don't know what you mean by saved.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that, like, again, it's I think a character who, if you want to be at the like in the middling, I think it's fine. But like, she shares basically the same fate as all the other standard characters. Actually, it's a better question. Do you think she's the best standard DPS?
I think if you have the characters for her, yes.
Okay.
That is the asterisk on it. I think Soldier 11 is a very bad character who is on a niche element and has a good team.
Yeah, I think like in that case, and I think is as fair to put her directly ahead of like the Graces and another character who is a bit gated by like the limiteds. I think it's fair to put her at the top of tier 6. Like, if you want to fight for tier 5, that's fine. I think there's probably 5 Soldier. There's probably 11 actually Soldier 11 mains in the entire world. In fact, and hey, look, if you're trying to go to bat about her being like maybe a little bit, I don't even know if I'd say she's like insanely so much easier to play than like a Grace or a Haramasa, but like her damage just really isn't there. Like, I hate to break it to you.
No, it's not. Soldier is a bad character. She's debatably a good bad character, though.
Yeah, the best of the bad.
Maybe
the best of the bad.
If Billy and Corin were fire, would Soldier 11 be better than them? No. The answer to that question is no.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah. God, if I don't know, I know they'll probably never do this, but if I pray one day they add like standard banner Lost Void kits. Like I just want to know what they would cook up. You know, like I'm just curious, like what they would do.
They do
like double the length of her. Like
no,
her
they do
flame
the
strikes or
Ellen
something.
thing where they add an attack that skips B1, B2, B3,
I guess that's true.
and just skips straight to B4. I think is what they would do with Soldier. Whenever Mindscapes does that after dodge counter. I think it's M4.
Oh, good. Oh, good. 5 copies of Soldier. Okay, that's our Soldier. That's our Soldier 11.
Yeah.
How do you feel about who do we have left?
We have
Evelyn?
3 left, unless you want to put Vivian here as well.
I think it's okay to put Vivian. If you want to put her in the other one too,
I'll just put her down then.
Oh wait, do you include? Wait, if you're gonna do Vivian, do you want to include Bernice or no?
Sure. Bernice is a very T5 girl.
She's a very what? Sorry.
Very T5 girl.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know you really. Last time we did the tier list with you, you had Bernice at like the top.
Well, I had her more as like a. I think it's because I was a bit like well, I don't know exactly what it is, but I would have imagined that I had it more on like the supportive end of
yeah,
Bernice.
it was support.
I
think even as I think Bernice is a T5 kind of girl.
As a dedicated DPS, I also
as a dedicated DPS, I'd put her with Soldier.
Yeah, I
if we count like anomaly DPS like Vivian Astro, T5 is fine.
Wait, really? You think she's this far down? Tier 5.
Yeah. If you play like Vivian Astro Bernice, I'm fine with T5. 100%.
I feel like what about you? Do you feel that like the performance of characters, even like Miyabi, Yanagi with Bernice, or even Piper, that takes her all the way down to tier 5?
Wait, what? Wait.
Like even if you use Bernice as is that like the support? Wait. When you said Vivian Bernice,
if you play Bernice as a DPS.
So separate from that of like if you were to use her with like Miyabi.
Yes.
Oh yeah. If you want to keep her, sorry, you said Vivian, and I kind of like I don't know why I just like I kept like thinking like this is fine. If you're really trying to use Bernice as like I don't know. Listen, no shade to Mr. Riv, but like hey, listen, the Crypt Bernices of the world and like
it's literally the same as Soldier.
Yeah, like it's not feeling amazing. Again, well, for those of you that are at this point of the video with Bernice, guess what? There's a second tier list, so don't just calm. Don't worry. Like there will be some redemption for this character. That said, I mean, like you're seeing it right now. Like I don't think she's super enticing as a character, as like a solo DPS, or as a quote unquote like more dedicated DPS. I don't want to say she got power crept by, but like given how strong Disorder is in the game, like I feel like anyone that was reaching for like Bernice would maybe had to have like thought about, like Yanagi. But now you have like Yanagi and Vivian as like your like duo DPS kind of setup, and I just think that I don't know, Bernice is just not it for me. Like I'm not a huge Bernice lover.
Okay. I think Bernice is not very good as a DPS. I think Bernice is not very good as a support. I think Bernice is a character I wouldn't recommend pulling. We'll get to it though.
Okay. I'm curious. An actual scalding hot take. Okay.
I think it's a mild take.
Really? Oh my dude, that in of itself is a hot take. Oh my god. Okay. Okay, we're cooking. We're
We'll,
cooking.
we'll talk about it.
Oh, you already placed. Oh, wait, okay.
I already
We can
placed
talk
Vivian.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about Vivian because I completely forgot about that. Actually, okay. I see. Oh, wait. I see why the tier list panned out the way that it did. Okay. Okay. I think Vivian. It's fair to say Vivian is in like the tier 2. I'm not gonna lie. With how often I reach for this character,
I'm gonna put her T1 on support. I think Vivian isn't going to carry your account if she was your only limited pull. Is the reason I wouldn't put her at T1 on the DPS tier list.
No, I wasn't planning on putting her at tier 1. Do you think she outpaces or like outmatches, like outperforms Yanagi?
Well, the team has the best Yanagi team is Vivian. The best Jane team is Vivian. The best Grace team is Vivian. The best Piper team is Vivian. Vivian is the anchor of Anomaly teams right now.
Mm-hmm.
I barely even would consider her a DPS, but if you just want to put her down, I'd put her at T2. Same place as Yanagi because it's the same team.
If you want, okay, to be honest, if you want, we could just remove Vivian and Bernice. Because they're like, for what you're essentially saying, they're basically just supports. Because we're, it's like a bit difficult to rate them as DPS when like realistically we're thinking of them as supports or like as the support side. Okay.
If you wanted to put them as a DPS, that's where I would put them.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
it's just the line. I feel like the
line's
line for
blurry.
what we're describing, is like blurring a bit hard.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about. You want to go Evelyn then?
Sure. T2 or T3? Evelyn.
Yeah.
You want to play Astra for sure. Lighter is okay. If you don't have Lighter's engine, you could argue Nicole is better, which is funny, but you can't argue it. So you really do need Astra for Evelyn to work. Lighter is great. He's a really great boon for Evelyn. He's technically not as good as he is for Hugo, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But Evelyn is basically the only real option to do fire damage directly, which makes the Pompeii easier. She still doesn't have a set, which is a problem. Where is it, Hoyo?
Yeah.
But she did
right next to Juyuan's W engine.
We didn't mention it, but her and all of the attack agents got buffed by the new set, King of the Summit.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of sucks not being an ether or an ice DPS. The more and more I think about it, huh?
Ooh, okay. I think fire is something that's actually kind of useful to have. I think electric is less relevant, but I think fire is actually a useful attribute right now because I think Pompeii is the one that people struggle with if they already have Miyabi.
Mm-hmm.
That's my experience just from playing on people's accounts.
Sorry, I should clarify that statement. Because of the way that the bosses are and the sets are and like how everything is tuned, if you were an ice character, you have like a lot
more best in slot content.
Yeah, and you have like a lot of like bosses that you can stunt on. Like honestly, Butcher and like the marionettes and like, okay, maybe not Bringer. I won't go too far. Bringer's kind of a piece of work, but like for the average character, or like, if you could pray that you saw like a character, like, we don't know what the new character's element is going to be. If you wanted them to be really good, like perform pretty well or be like easy to play, I feel like you'd likely want them to be like ether or like ice, because a lot of the bosses and like a lot of the content that involves those characters, I feel like is quite or like a lot of everything, like engines, everything I think performs like in favor of ice and ether, at least from like the way that I felt whenever I try out these characters, with the exception I guess of Juyuen's W engine, which is like rest in peace. But outside of that, I feel like Evelyn specifically, like she does she does struggle, I think, because she of course doesn't have like the ideal set. I think it's just as a concept, by the way, I think it is extremely, like, again, though I understand why, it is extremely goofy and like kind of twisted and like upside down that she has like one of her best performances against a boss that she is element resistant to. Like if you said that, I feel like in any other game, like people would laugh at you.
Wait, who
like,
are we talking about?
Isn't it is it Typhon?
Oh, Typhon just, yeah, it's just because it's an easy boss. It suns itself.
I know, but like, but like, if you just label it out, like, yeah, because I've had this, I've also like done a little bit of like Deadly Assault and like Shiyu work for like viewers and stuff, and like I've taken Evelyn into these fights, and they're like, why are you taking Evelyn?
Yeah, she's perfectly fine into those fights. I think Evelyn,
and it's just like she does well.
She has a ton of res shred. Evelyn herself does just kind of pretty high damage. Spoiler. If you want to say on paper without like excess buffs, it's directly similar to Yizen, which is something we're gonna have to talk about.
Yeah, these two last characters. Oh, this is gonna be like the sparks are gonna fly, and I have a scalding take. Well, not really a scalding take, but I have
a take that I've delivered already.
Okay,
I'm actually just gonna talk about Yizen now.
Okay, all right, sure.
I'm going to say Yizen T1. Yizen is not better, or Yizen is really not exactly better than Evelyn. It doesn't matter. She has more team diversity. And the fact is, the buffs for her to perform well exist right now. And these tier lists exist at a period of time in the game. Yizen is good right now, so Yizen is T1.
Yeah, I think, the idea of longevity in gacha games has kind of like fallen by the wayside a little bit, because like there is no, I shouldn't say there's no trust, but like we've seen what happens to like certain characters, and admittedly, companies will buff or readjust characters and like accordingly, as we've seen with Ellen. Who knows? Like maybe they'll go a bit harder on like the next character if they decide to buff another character. But I think, I've actually not to say that this is like my the only reason for it, but like I've heard your take on like where you consider Yixuan to be or how good she is. And I've seen the title for your videos. Don't worry. I've seen like is Yixuan Miyabi?
Oh yeah, I made that. Yes. The point of that video was that if they want a character to be good, they will be good. They don't have to actually do that much damage to be good or to be the best.
And listen, like, as we've seen, there are many, many factors to whether or not a character is good.
Yeah, damage is just a single part of it. I also think Yizen is... You can say whatever you want about the 6 frame cancels for Yizen's like chain attack. There's a single frame or 2 frame cancel if you want to use Astra's ult and do 2 chains that way. There are things you can do to maximize Yizen. They're pretty low impact. They don't actually do that much for you. They're cool, though. I think the fact is, it is your baseline Yizen score will be higher than your baseline Evelyn score.
Yes, I agree.
Because to be competitive, Evelyn is dependent on doing 4 ultimates, which is not easy.
I just want to say...
It's actually like, pretty difficult.
I just want to say, as a reminder, like as I mentioned, I don't know if we did it in the new part. If we didn't, it is what it is. Like I think we said it with Haramasa actually, or I said it with Haramasa. Like characters where you have to land like X amount of Y within like Z amount of time, or like within Z amount of stun window. Yeah. Like it is, even if it's easier for some players, it is like a skill cap for certain players. Like it is kind of difficult to always reliably hit for like always get your ultimate, always get this amount of stuns, always get this amount of chains. Like sometimes you're not paying attention. Like sometimes you're fighting the boss for one time and you just leave the fight and never go back to it again, or like sometimes you don't read through every part of the kit, and like that is a real, in my opinion, justifiable reason to increase or decrease the performance of a character, or like the placing of a character on a list. Yixuan, honestly, for me, like once you learn how to play Yixuan once, you really don't like lose that much, or like you don't really like, you know, lose out that much from trying to just play her at her baseline. Like the double ultimate thing, think that's cool. Like if you want to do like the, you know,
Wait, hold on. Wait.
What?
Are you saying you can play Yizen without using her ultimate?
No. I'm saying like
Okay.
whether or not you choose to. No. Wait. That's not. Sorry. If to restate, I think regardless, like as you said, if you decide to do the optimizations or not, I think that is like a highly like underrated like strength of a character. If you, not to say that like, you know, it's good if a character is so simplistic to play every time, but if you are that, like, you know, if you do perform at a similar level to your optimized level as your simple level, that does just mean that the character is going to perform higher, and therefore is going to place higher on the tier list, right? We're talking about ease of play, we're talking about like damage performance, and like again, to quote and to like kind of bring back like what you mentioned from your video talking about like Yixuan, it's true. Like regardless if you decide to watch this video in a month or 2 months, in this exact time frame on July 3rd, during this period, Yixuan was strong, and guess what? That Miasma Priest is probably going to be here for a little bit longer. Like again, I'm not going to speak on, you know, cross fingers. We're not going to.
So the Miasma Priest currently has a negative 15% HP modifier. He is intended to have more HP.
Yeah. And
he will have more HP. It will be more difficult. Yizen also has teams that don't necessarily take Astra. Yeah, she wants to have Astra, but because she gets partial value from attack percent, she literally gets 1/3 value from attack compared to other characters. We've seen some really funny teams pop up. So I don't know if you've seen the double stun Yizen, but it's good. It's good enough. They also give you an A rank buffer in Penyin Hu, and you can also even try to play Nicole as well, which is mostly due to a days threshold thing, but you can definitely do it.
Just in terms of performance, like I was actually trying to. Sorry, I got a notification. This is crazy, by the way. I get like getting offline notifications. Anyways, just for like testing sake, I really wanted to hamper like hard commit to this to see like how these performed. And of course, I'm positive I'm not playing Yixuan at like the min max of either of these three.
So,
but I tested like Yixuan with Pan Yinhu, Astra, Trigger, and Pulchra. Like I tried all those 4 teams at least like 12 to like 16 times. Each of those teams, like that, like seriously, like double-digit times, because I wanted to make sure that I kind of had like a better read of like how each one performs to each other. My average always ended up being that actually Astra was only like, I think, I don't know what the exact percentage is right now, within 600 score.
So there is a secret tech you can use for Astra. It's called the unfettered game ball.
Oh, fair.
So there's this battle pass engine. It's the game ball. It gives 10 to 20% crit rate when your support matches the weakness of the boss. Because Yizen is ether, this engine will always be active. 20% crit rate is just
very strong.
Really big buff.
Yeah.
Most people do not run the game ball. But if you do, it is technically the best thing you can run.
Yeah. And again, like free stat is free stat. I just wanted to point out that again, like I think, and you know, like as we're saying, there's gonna be like, I'm sure there's like a min-max or like a speed run where someone performs better than the other. I just wanted to point out that like across, again, like I have like screenshot upon screenshot of these tests. It was always within like no greater than 1,000.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like deadly assault score. And then, I mean, you can talk about like Shiyu times. It's like 10 to like 15 seconds, which is like, well, they're all both under a minute anyway. So like, what is even, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. It is what it is. But I think that their score being so close to me indicates that I think Yixuan is even stronger or has even better value sometimes than Evelyn, as you say.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because, well, Evelyn doesn't do that without Astra or Lighter. You know what I mean? And like, this is a team, again, that has like Jufufu and obviously, you know, like, I don't know. It's just overall, I've loved Yixuan for like the way that her kit works, and like obviously for like what she provides and offers. It's just that I don't think I've recently had the ability to go, yeah, and like look at how good a character's free-to-play team is. And that's like actually one of her like greatest assets as a character.
Oh yeah,
like,
you could log in
you know?
on 2.0 and pull a Yizen team.
Yeah, exactly.
On the same banner you pull the Yizen on.
Exactly.
You play Panda Pulchra, and Pulchra's actually, we'll talk about it with supports. Pulchra's an underrated character.
Yeah, I agree too.
We can talk about Miyabi real quick. So, if you don't know, on paper, Miyabi is still 15% better than Yizen. That has not changed. The optimizations for Yizen have not been that impactful. But Yizen has like the super chill, essentially, scenario right now. This is, unless Yizen gets a new support, this is as good as Yizen will be. It will be hard for her to go up from here until she gets more supports. Miyabi is literally still doing better.
Yeah.
Unless it's the Miasma Priest.
Yeah, and that's really what it is, right? Like, it's like, you know, hey, listen, there's a reason why the cinematic was the way it was, right? And like, I said I was gonna have like a bit of like a, like not like a hot take, but like a take that I think is like really the most fair. If the devs are putting them equal to each other, you know, and they're the ones that are manipulating all the bosses and stuff, they're obviously in some way, shape, or form intended to be equal to each other.
I think the reason that Miyabi is as good as she is unintended, though. It's
oh yeah, like
so
sure
if you don't know, the thing that
themselves.
makes Miyabi so good is freeze mechanics. So when the enemy is frozen, their stun timer does not decay. Because of this, you can take advantage and do things like or enhanced basic attacks in stun. I do think it is completely unintended, and for the next year, we will see even the anomaly bosses be unable to be frozen. Potentially all bosses for the future. But, hey, we're in the moment!
Yeah, exactly. Also, again, like, she's, again, just easily one of the, at face value, one of the easier DPSs to play. Like, you're just, I think,
until you try to do that.
Even outside of, I think, Hugo, like, I think in terms of like, you know, casual, like if you had like a new, or not a new, but like if you had like a casual player play all these characters who they'd get the highest score on, it's just Miyabi, right? And I think
it might be Yizen. If you just face roll buttons.
I think that's fair. Like, again, I'm not really trying to say that Miyabi would be like so much better, and which is again why I also have her in tier 1. But like, again, if you're trying to put the characters together, the reason why she's strong is the reason why she's strong. You know, like she has very damage. The
reason why she's strong is she has very high numbers.
Exactly. And again, I think all of us kind of everywhere, I think especially like outside of the freeze mechanic and the mono ice team, which of course everyone knows is like extremely strong. The reason why
you're supposed to actually use the freeze mechanic in every team now.
That's well,
if you did not know. Yeah. No, not the ice teams, every team with Miyabi. Yes. With Miyabi, Yanagi, Miyabi, Vivian. Yeah. You are supposed to be taking advantage of it in every Miyabi team to maximize performance.
Sorry, I thought you meant like a freeze.
It's not just mono ice anymore. It's not just mono ice anymore. It's every Miyabi team that we want to try to take advantage of it in.
Yeah, again, they're going to be at the top. Honestly, first or second it is what it is. If you want to make like a clickbait video, like, oh my god, Miyabi is worse or better than Xien, I'm not bothered by it. I think it's.
I will tell you, Miyabi is
dived
literally
into it.
better and provably better and maximized better. But the fact is, Yishin's very good right now. I wouldn't feel comfortable putting her outside T1 because I make this video so often. If I only did this video once a year, I'd maybe be more conservative about it. But no, right now, Yishin's T1, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I agree. Solid character. Yeah, I mean, okay, so now we have a kind of different, but I'd say like kind of similar looking tier list. Are there any changes that you'd make to the characters?
I could get rid of the tier that just says Hugo in it on my own tier list.
I made an adjustment a bit. Like I think
I just don't really know where to place him. I think Hugo has a lot of downsides and a lot of like really frustrating things about maximizing him.
But are his downsides all RNG related that you could restart?
I mean, do you want to restart?
But the thing is, right? Like if I could,
I'm gonna stick with it.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, to play devil's advocate, if I could tell you that, like, Grace could be tier 2, but you had to restart 10 times, would you take it? I think most Grace mains would say yes.
10,000. Let's say 10,000. Let's say.
Okay, I don't know.
Where is the limit for what is reasonable? Because every mono ice clear involves resetting.
Yeah.
You have to spend hours to do perfect runs.
Yeah.
People do not log in and do their best Deadly Assault run right off the bat. They don't log in and get their best Shiyu time off the bat. They spend hours trying to get the perfect run.
Yeah.
I think that Hugo has I think it's very difficult. It's very to get the perfect run with Hugo.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I'm just trying to think like general, like broad strokes. If there's like anything specifically, like about the characters that feels off. If you feel that like Hugo could be like a little bit worse or a little bit better, I think that's okay. But it sounds like you're about to implode tier 3.
I think I'm just gonna leave it.
Tier 4.
I think Hugo on his own is fine.
Okay, I think that's fine. I think it's healthy for us to have a bit of a some differences in the way that we have our tier. Truthfully, I don't think our tier lists are really even that different, but I don't think like the characters are that arguably that different from each other that it would warrant such a change. I think if you move a character up or down, it's kind of just maybe a bit of anecdotal evidence or like preference, which is fine. But yeah, I think I'm fine with the DPS tier list like this. Do you want to go to the supports?
Give me 1 second. I'm going to stop my recording.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now you want to talk about sports.
Okay.
Whew. That is it's 2.5 hours, by the way. So I wanted to restart the recording, but yes, we can talk about supports.
Okay, yeah. Actually, wait. I'm gonna do the same. Okay.
I'm just gonna rearrange those.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put all the characters at the end so that they. My editor is gonna have a field day with this one.
The editor is gonna go in and just start deleting sentences. It cut off thoughts mid-sentence.
Yeah, I think that's what happened last time. He was like, "Okay, what are you even talking about?" I think that's literally what happened last time. Okay.
Let's go.
This is a really random side note. Did you get into NTE?
I didn't. Okay, so I was. My agency asked me what my email was so they could get me access. I didn't sign up for the beta.
I feel you so hard.
I literally didn't sign up.
And it just did. Oh my god. Dude, wait, hold on.
I was supposed to get it. I did not even sign up. I'm sorry, I didn't care.
Wait, can I ask? Did you
I would try
sign
it.
up for
I would try it now.
Did you sign up when they had? I swear they had a questionnaire, and they were like.
I signed up for Anata, I think.
I swear they had something where it's like, if you fill out this questionnaire, you're guaranteed access. I filled it out, and they're like, "Oh, we don't have your number, or like we don't have access to it." That said, this is like again really random. I'm also gonna stop my recording so that I do it so we don't have like that game. Like I'm not joking. Like hashtag not hashtag sponsored, but not really sponsored because it's like
you're sponsored. Congrats.
Well, not really. Like it was like a sponsor for like a video kind of like sponsored to get access to the video. You know what I mean? So not really.
You're sponsored. They were paid for a YouTube video.
No, they not paid.
Oh,
but like okay. In any case, like it was just like a trade for like access to the game. That game is fantastic. Like I'm not joking. It has a very Zenless-y vibe, but it is like genuinely like breathtaking. Now again, not to say
did you like it more than Enfield?
It's actually funny you bring that up. I think they are both equally extremely good games, but you cannot compare the two just because they are both so far apart from what the current gacha landscape looks like that they are exceptional. Like they are seriously like addicting to play.
Ooh, okay.
Like I'm saying this as again, like even if I wasn't sponsored, seriously, like you messaged me to do this video and I really had to try hard to get off of Neverness to Everness. Like it pained me like when I closed it.
Wow, okay.
Very good
What
game.
is the gameplay? What is like the gameplay loop? Is it exploration? Is it missions? What is it?
It is GTA-esque. Not to spoil you, it's not like a story spoiler or anything. However, just not as again like a lore wise story spoiler, but I know you don't really even probably care.
No,
but like
story.
All of the scenes and all of the story is like it's almost 1%. Like you know the dialogue where like you sit and you're talking in front of someone, it's like less than 10% of that, and everything else is like an animated cutscene or like a super goofy like comic book strip. Like it is very Zenless-y. Like extremely, like it has even less cutscenes. Even less like dialogues than Zenless does.
I do want to know about what the actual gameplay loop is.
Oh, sorry. Gameplay wise, it is like you go through the story. It is like farming domains and stuff. But the quote unquote exploration, they do it interesting because you have like things around the world that you have to collect, similar to like Genshin or Wuwa or anything like that. But it's GTA styled. So it'll be like, hey, there's an anomaly on the road. Or also you're like a detective, like a quote unquote investigator detective or something. Not Silver Palace, by the way. Not like that. But like there's like anomalies or like landmarks or like waypoints on the ground or like randomly through the city that you find. And just imagine if GTA was like, hey, there's a waypoint that you have to go discover. That's literally what the game is. So you'll be like driving around or you'll be like completing a quest. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, do you want to get like, plus 10% damage or something? Or like, do you want to get like this aminoculus that'll like increase your stamina or something? Go climb this building. And then it's like a really, really, really like Genshin GTA hybrid. But I do want to say one thing that's like not necessarily a con, but I think is like just a testament to their investment in quality. The game does something super cool where like, okay, you might have heard there's a wanted system. Now, initially, and when people first thought about like NTEs, like you can steal a car thing, like that was like the whole thing. You can steal a car like in GTA. Yeah, it's not actually that. Which I think is it's kind of unfortunate, but it's also like, again, a testament to its detail.
Okay, so you can't steal a car.
No, you can, but it's not stealing a car. Rather,
you own that car? It's your car.
No, it's not that. you are like, again, I said that, like I said earlier, you're like an investigator or like a detective. One of your party members comes out and says like
You can
as
commandeer
part of
vehicles.
yeah, you commandeer a vehicle. Now, like that already sounds like a little like, okay, if that was it sounds a little bit cringe.
So you
right?
take okay, you walk up to the car, you knock on the door, it's like,
Yeah, you're like,
instead
"Hey, I
of
need
ripping
this
them out
vehicle."
the car, you politely ask and they give you the vehicle.
No. So that's the thing. So you politely ask them, but it is an ask. So as far as I know right now, if you aren't like well known in the city, the people in the car will be like, no, I'm busy. Like, who are you? Which is crazy because you have a police badge and you're like, open the damn car. I need this vehicle. And they're like, no, actually, I'm also on an urgent mission. And it's like, what? Like,
They
what are
can
you
say
saying
no.
right now? Like,
They can steal the car back.
yeah, it's like absolutely, it is so absolutely goofy. But it's like, it's so funny because again, like they have so much, they have like such interesting details, or like a focus on small details. It's just like the entire game is like that, and it's kind of like Arknight's Enfield too. But yeah, like it reminds me a lot of Arknights, not at all in terms of how the game plays or anything, but in terms of like how genuinely like interesting, or like how unique it is.
Okay.
The soundtrack, like the hits, the gameplay. Okay, I will say the combat looks like almost damn near 1-to-1 like WoWa. It is like
Okay, so it's a WoWa.
heavily inspired. But it is easier. It is easier, I would say, than WoWa.
I don't know what that
It's just like they
means.
took all the good parts of WoWa and they put it into combat.
I don't know what that means. I don't know.
It's like some people will be like, oh, like you have to, I don't even know how to explain it.
Wait, is it
like,
literally Tower of Fantasy's combat?
I didn't, from my time playing Tower Fantasy in 1.0, it did not feel like that. No, chat, I swear to God, this is not hashtag ad. If you like, even if I didn't have a sponsor, just playing this game, like I'm actually really upset that the beta is only for 2 weeks.
Ooh,
Because
okay.
like it, because I really want to continue playing the game. Like, because I spent like almost like a month straight playing Arknight's Enfield.
Yeah, the Enfield beta went on for a long time.
Yeah. Like, okay, basically, long story short, guys, it is GTA Gacha, but it has really interesting combat and it is very, very explorative. More explorative, I would say, than GTA is, and more hindering on the Genshin side.
Nice.
Like, there's like bosses you have to fight or puzzles you have to, and no mission, by the way, is like a fucking fetch quest. They're like, figure out this puzzle and like the world is gonna start dementing around you and shit. It's really, 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 really fun, actually.
Chat's making me laugh. All right, let's do supports.
Okay. Here we go. All right.
Okay.
All right. So let's start with the. I see on your list. I think you have. Okay, you want to start with Caesar? Is that who you have first?
No, I didn't order it at all.
Oh, okay.
I'd probably start with like Anby or Lucy. Actually, Lucy's probably a character we're gonna talk about later.
Up to you.
Yeah, let's start with like this. Okay, let's start with Anby.
Okay.
How do you feel about Anby?
I know how you feel about Anby because this is the second time we've done it and nothing's changed. Actually,
that's not true.
Lie. Yeah, not actually. Wait. I take that.
She
back.
got a set.
Take that back. Yeah, she did get a set. But you know, if everything is good, is anything good? So I guess like she has a buff to provide now, and I mean her stunning is the same as it was before. So tier 0.
Sure, we'll go with that. Yeah, MBT 0, I think it's fine. What do I have to say about Anby? She did get buffed with the new set. Every stun agent got buffed with the new set. In general, King of the Summit is fantastic. It is a noticeable increase for every character that has these characters in their teams. What else do I have to say? Anby can hold it. She still does not do much else, but at least she can do something now. I think Anby is more of a character now than she has ever been.
Yeah. Again, though, like
I also do not think Anby is the best A rank stun agent, though.
Okay, fair. I was like thinking for a second. Yeah, there's two now. So
there is a second one.
Yeah. Okay, I think the only reason why I'm okay with Anby here is because she's gonna have company.
Ooh, okay. Who's her company?
Yeah. Well, I think this is obvious. I think you might
Who
have just
is
forgotten.
it?
It's gonna be Ben. Come on.
You want to put? I wasn't even gonna put the Ben on the list.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't think you wanted to put him on here. For me, I only feel good about putting Anby down here if she has company, and I think Ben stays with her.
I think Anby is actually significantly better than Ben because of King the Summit. I'd actually be willing to do this. I'd actually.
Okay, if you want to do that, that's
if
okay
you want to
too.
put Ben on the list, I'd do this.
I think there's just I've heard maybe one too many comments or like one too many perspectives, dude. Actually, not even just from like YouTube commenters, but I swear even on like Twitter, on like from other okay, I guess I won't say that, but from like a lot of like different spaces, there's a lot of people that still ask like, oh, did you try Ben? Like, did you account for like the crit rate that you get? And it's like, all right, man, you win. Okay, you know, like, you win. You want to talk about like the limited crit rate that you get from Ben? Okay, like you win. And in that case, I think he's tier 0. He's just like they'll buff him surely at some point. Okay,
I'm sorry, it's a funny joke. Let's say whatever you want. Tier 0 being the bottom is pretty funny.
Like, hey, you know what? If he's the tier 0 of both DPS and you know, and the
Ben is truly the GOAT, the greatest T0 of all time.
Yeah, literally the best of all time. There is no other character who can unironically do it like him. All right, do you want to talk about the other A rank stunner?
Yeah, Poker's easy T3.
Tier 3.
I'm not misspeaking. I think Poker is a super underrated character and actually very good, especially now. If we want to talk about Yizen again, Poker is literally better than Caesar in those for Yizen's teams. That is granted you have M6 on her, but
yeah. Okay, well let's keep it a buck. A lot of these characters. Okay, I got a hot take about Pan.
Yeah, you get King of the Summit, you get Astral Voice uptime. I'm pretty comfortable with Poker at T3.
Yeah, the only thing is, you know, I think I might even be like, honestly, I might be even crazier than you. I might have even put Polka a little higher. Ooh. But I don't know.
All right, we'll reserve it. We'll reserve the chance to move her up.
I'm keeping her here. My kind of quick preamble about Polka is that I don't think there's quite been a character in recent times that has had the same level of, oh yeah, I'll just use them and they'll perform decently. The same way I would reach for like a Nicole or like a Lucy or Sokaku. And again, I think it kind of depends where those characters come.
All right, we're gonna have a lot to disagree with on this tier list.
We'll see. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think Polka, as you said, I mean, she offers so much as an off-field stunner. She is very easy to play too. As most, honestly, at this point, Jay Stern, maybe if you just want to include as like a disclaimer, I damn near don't think there's like a single. Actually, okay, there's probably like less than one handful of like difficult to play utility characters for the casual audience. In terms of like, yeah, you'll be completely fucking confused how to like play the character. That said, I think Pulchra does so much, especially when she gets her M6.
It is mostly that you need M6. So when you have M6 Pulchra, she gives you 30 damage bonus. That alone is just actually good.
Yeah, and it affects more than just Aftershock. Of course.
Yeah, it is all of it. At M6 is all damage types.
Yeah, and again, I think there's some like real value there because I think there's other characters, and I just don't think that there's honestly that many supports, or rather even like off-field stunners that can even compete. Well, actually, there's only 2 others off-field stunners that would even be able to compete. But yeah, like just in general, I think she's extremely powerful, does a lot of days, not very difficult to play, pretty easy to pick up. There's just honestly like a laundry list of positive things to
a
say
lot of
about
days
Pokra.
is probably a stretch, but she does enough days.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, that's fine to say. I think that's fair to say. Yeah,
I think Pokra does have a problem where you can end up wasting a lot of her hunters or a lot of her buff or a lot of her attacks just by swapping to her. It's really annoying.
yeah, it is. I will say she does present herself like you have to be conscious about the character.
Yes,
but again, I think if the difficulty in a character is which way that you swap, I think you're doing kind of well for yourself.
Okay,
that's what I think.
Yeah, fair.
Like, don't even get me started on this fucking Reena character. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Oh my god, don't even timing management this way, that way. I'm okay. Who do you want to do next?
Kaleda. Is Kaleda a full tier better than Anby? Yes or no?
Kaleda.
Do you think she is a full tier better than Anby?
Well, I guess with King of the Summit is kind of a broken set.
I mean, she is literally fire Anby.
Yeah.
But she has a chain attack buff if you use her EX twice, which would be the reason to put her at T5. I think Kaleda is very bad, but you can make the argument she's better than Anby.
I'm not in love with her either. I think there is something to be said about I don't think I'd be comfortable putting her in the same tier as Anby.
Okay. We'll go T5 with Kaleda.
I'm okay with her tier 5. I don't think she is again like so much better. Like I wouldn't go any further than that. But I do think that there's something wrong if you see the 2 of them together. Which I think is fine. And as you said, okay, wait, technically we did give a bit of like, you know, a bit of thought into like the Nekomata like imprint thing. Kaleda's Mindscapes aren't bad either. Maybe not.
They don't do anything though. They don't give her a buff.
Isn't it? Wait.
She gets energy. Her M2 is she gets energy. Her M1 is more days on the EX. It just doesn't really do anything though.
Yeah. Hey, you know what I mean? Like it is what it is. If you get it,
I do just think they don't do anything.
I mean, if even with that being the case, I still think that like putting Anby and Kaleda together, like it just doesn't. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't be like super upset if you put like 2 of the lowest tier stunners together as they're both kind of mid.
I'm gonna give you a hot take.
Okay.
Lucy is T5.
Ooh, Lucy is tier 5.
Here is your hot take. So Lucy is literally half of Astra. She gets half of the attack, half of the crit damage, half of the damage bonus. Actually, less than half. It's like she doesn't give any damage bonus. It's just from the set. So none of the damage bonus. Her biggest niche is that you can play her with Lighter to play Lighter and Cope teams, but you can also do that with Pokra.
What I would say, I would agree with you a little bit more. Here's why. I think a lot of people gravitate to comfort and like certain teams, and I think it is very rare for Lucy to be on those teams. If you have Yixuan, I think you'd rather use Pulchra Pan.
If you have every character, you're never playing Lucy now.
Yeah. But I mean, like, even in terms of like what's, you know, what would be like most commonly used as of late, I've not really seen many people lean towards Lucy, and it doesn't even necessarily always make sense for you to lean towards Lucy. Like, there are a lot of 2.0 characters. Well, I shouldn't say there's a lot of 2.0 characters, but there's a lot of teams from 2.0.
So we need to put on like South. Oh, you know what? T4. You know what?
Like,
but
if you want to put her in tier 4, I think that's fine. It's just honestly, I was honestly kind of fine with you putting her even in tier 5, just because
we'll go with it for now. I reserve the right to move her up, but I do think Lucy is just. If you have every character, you just aren't playing Lucy anymore. She is powercraft, just straight up.
And again, if I'm just keeping it a buck, like they've already come out and said that their intent is to make the game like main DPS plus friends focused, like to have other people like be quote unquote affecting the field without like being on the field. That is just like, if that's the direction they're taking, that is a direct nerf to Lucy. Because like part of the value for Lucy, well, I shouldn't say a direct nerf to Lucy, but like if you're trying to play double DPS teams, maybe you can take from that information that it's going to be a little bit less common for you to run as many double DPS teams, or you'll find good value in some cases from just having a support that buffs your main DPS, then you get the hell off the field, you know?
The thing is, okay, so here's the Lucy buffs, voice crack. Lucy buffs both characters in a team, all 3 characters in a team. This makes her debatably better than Caesar as a buffer.
Yeah.
The problem is it's debatably better, not better.
Yeah.
And spoilers, Caesar is kind of a low bar.
We're gonna have a bit of a chat about
okay.
Caesar. That's okay. But I am
comfortable with Lucy T4. Lucy. I'm comfortable with Lucy T4. I think Poker is better now.
That's fine. Okay, who do you want to do next?
Would you like to do Caesar?
Yeah, we could do Caesar. Okay.
So this is probably the character that will be the biggest difference between the two of us. Yeah. I think Caesar is not great.
I'm curious where you land with you saying that she's not great.
I am willing to do this. Maybe, or this. I'm willing to do this. And like, this is the fact is, Caesar does need an S rank engine to be better than Lucy.
What I would say is that I think it really just. Oh, also, by the way, I don't know if you hear thunder or not, but there's like literally thunder outside. So like, if I lose power,
that's if you exclusively count her as a buffer and you don't consider that she gives you a shield. If you consider she gives you a shield, I'd move her up 1.
Oh, I mean, you know, I don't think we're excluding factors from this. I think at the very minimum for me, I don't know. I think it's incredibly difficult to see them introducing a mechanic like miasma and see them introducing characters like Jufufu and stuff. Like, obviously more tuned to specific character supports in addition to mechanics that may kind of lean on the side of like, hey, screw shields, or like, hey, we don't care if you have a shield on the team. If that's the direction that they go with, which again, it's hard to say, who knows, right? I can't really say. But like miasma kind of does lean more towards like that, hey, look, your shield doesn't even do anything. And then in addition to that, if you're going to have a character like Jufufu or like Ishwan who's been released and they scale better with HP than attack, then like, you know, as you said, it's like a third scaling to Ishwan. Why the hell would you even take Ishwan with Caesar? Right? It doesn't, like, it's a lot of like thinking into the future. I think, again, if we're talking about right now, truth be told, I think the lowest I would put her is the top of tier 3. I'm honestly still kind of inclined to put her tier 2.
I am not.
Again,
I am actually pretty staunch. I don't think she's going above T3.
That's fine. I think I think it's fine to agree to disagree. Just for me, I have visually and like anecdotally seen so much from the Caesar character. Again, like, you know, depending on how you assess or how you value like ease of play or how much you value like the buff, like I think her performance fluctuates. Like, again,
I think it's really simple. Caesar only buffs 1 character. And it's a problem, because even when she only buffs one character, you want to be able to do things while that character is off-field.
Sure,
So Caesar is kind of against how the game is played right now.
Is that true though? Isn't it really just like you press your? I mean, at most, what? Like you do a defensive assist, you EX special to reapply, then you swap off.
No, you do actions. Caesar doesn't buff you while you're off field. So if you play Caesar with Miyabi and you do enhanced basic 3 and swap, Caesar is not buffing that attack.
Sure.
So if you do like the Yizen chain ult cancel, that ultimate's not being buffed.
No. Yeah, I understand that. But what I mean is like, okay, for what you're describing, yeah, I get it. Like, yeah, she doesn't apply or affect to characters that are like, you know, animate. What is it? It's literally just chain. What would you
when they're in the animation off field?
Animation cancel. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, like when you cancel the animation and like you get off field. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Like, you know, the EBA for like from Miyabi, she's not going to be affected by it. However, while that is the case, there is still like the argument, in my opinion, that she is technically like, while maybe half of her kit doesn't apply, like because you have the animation cancel, the other part of her kit is that she takes very low, quote unquote, low field time and does kind of cater to the solo deep. Actually, I don't want to misspeak, but I think she's like literally one of the first, quote unquote, like don't be on field characters.
Yes,
that we had.
She doesn't sort of. You need to reapply one of her buffs.
Yeah, but like kind of the same way that like, yeah, but like kind of the same way that you'd have to reapply for like, you know, whatever other character. Yeah. Again, I understand like the frustration with putting Caesar high, as I do. Obviously, like I mean,
I think the shield. I think the shield is her real utility and it's her real niche. It's really comfortable.
Yeah, I agree.
Tower is returning next update. But I cannot in good consciousness recommend people pull Caesar right now. I mean, especially as you said, they want to release more supports.
Yeah. I think that's fair too. Again, I think equally so, like, I don't know what the future is, like, in terms of if they release someone that beats Caesar. That gets rid of shields. I also don't know what they'll actually end up releasing anyway. I just think that, again, while I might not recommend it to the average player, I think it would be dishonest to not present her as, like, hey, but as of right now, like, if you were to join Zenless right now, if you want the game to be easy for you, like really just like much easier for you in terms of like not getting hit and stuff, that's where she's at. And like, again, I think there is some real value to that.
Caesar is really punished by not being a stun agent right now. She can't use King of the Summit, which is a set she would love to have. She doesn't have an ultimate. She doesn't.
Yeah, her ultimate, I mean, to be fair, I think her ultimate's actually quite useful in tower. Like being able to stockpile like her decibel for whenever you need to reapply her shield. But also to be fair, like I was not like a 10,000 floor Andy in tower. Or
if you were, then Caesar's great.
Yeah.
If that's what you value, Caesar's fantastic, but it's not what I value right now. It's not what I want to recommend.
Yeah, and again, like
because
it's totally fine.
There's something to be said about the easiest way to play is to take less damage, and how do you take less damage can sometimes be do more damage to have less opportunities to take damage.
Yeah. Again, I think we will literally go in a circle, like endlessly. Right. Like, do you value like the shield, or do you value like the damage, and then like the damage is struggling compared to some of the other supports, but like does the shield make up for that? Like, is there still value in the shield? Again, I'm not ready to really make any hard calls about like Caesar has to be like awful or she has to be god tier. I think like the most level and unfortunately undramatic take for the character is just that we don't really know where she's about to go. Like if they go with the direction that we described, and they could just release a character with the shield tomorrow.
I have no problem crashing down on Caesar right now because she is a limited character and because she is on banner. If she were unavailable, then it would be something different, and if she was free, it would be something different. But you have to actively pull for this character.
True.
That's why I have a problem with her.
I don't know. I'm maybe like it's just rose tinted nostalgic glasses.
I don't know.
Like I've just, again, I don't think we're ever gonna. I don't think like there's a reason why it's so split. I think this is like maybe one of the most controversial characters in the game right now, and it's just because like, do you
for people who struggle
speak anecdotally about your fond memories of the character, like avoiding damage for you, and on average, probably right now, like avoiding damage for you if you play lazily.
Oh, hold on, there's a TTS.
Discussion vid soon.
There's a TTS. Okay, so I got a TTS, which was Caesar is very good because people don't know how to play the game, and you can recommend her to players who are really bad and they'll always get value out of Caesar. That's what the TTS was. I understand that perspective. That's not... I'm trying to make content for players who are interested in learning about the game, not players who have no interest in learning about the game. And that's like the dilemma. I do like content for a more casual player and a new player, but I want those players to kind of be invested.
I think that's fair. It's just that, again,
like by invested, I mean like mentally invested.
My thing is, though, is that like there are still like stepping stone characters, I would say, and though it is a limited, I get it. And she, as you mentioned, does really only perform like amazingly when you have her signature. I think like, I think fondly, or I've actually mentioned, I don't know if you feel this way, or did I ask you or I Win to Lose on like our last like conversation or discussion?
Yes.
Did you say that like Zhongli has still retained some value like as of late because they don't have that enemy that breaks the shield anymore?
I wouldn't have said that.
I think
that wouldn't have been me.
Someone that I was asking, like I asked them if like the character or that enemy that breaks the shield in Genshin is still like
no, they are
currently around.
No, they're not around. But here's the thing: there's this new character. Her name is Citlali.
Mm-hmm.
She is a cryo shielder who buffs melt or who buffs pyro and hydro damage. Pyro and hydro are still the most prolific elements in Genshin Impact. Citlali is debatably the best support in the game.
If she wasn't in, and those enemies were not still present,
and she is also a shielder. The shield is ancillary.
But if she did not exist, and the Genshin and the Genshin mob was not present, would you ever find a use for, or like, would you ever reach for Zhongli?
The reason to use Zhongli is because you're playing Arlecchino and dying a lot.
Okay.
That is the sole reason I would ever play Zhongli.
Would you ever feel like there's a chance for you to die with any other character, or is it literally only...
Every other character has active healing. You can use shields in place of a healer. But...
I guess the point that I was just trying to make is,
or if you get staggered a lot with Caesar and Villette.
I just wanted to kind of ask basically if there was ever like longevity or like a use case for these characters. Obviously it's different if they literally power corrupt the character 1-to-1. If that happens for Caesar, of course, like Caesar's dead. But I find that the shield has done so much for so many players. There, at least for me right now, hasn't been any direct indicator that like, Caesar will drop be like below usable. Now obviously I'm not saying you're saying that either. You still have her in like that tier 3, tier 4 range. Again, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 for me, I could see myself putting her really in any of them. It's just,
can
like,
you give me 5 minutes? I need to quickly run. Sorry. You keep talking about Caesar though.
Yeah. Literally in the time that it'll take for me to explain it. Chat. Basically, yes, I know you could just dodge. However, I think the main thing is that, again, if you were to ever recommend the game to someone that's struggling, and like, again, in a lot of cases when people come up or when they talk to you about the game, they like want advice or they'll want to know like how the game is going, you know? And when they ask for advice, I feel like Caesar is a character that a lot of people refer to because she does make the game like marginally easier. I do agree that Caesar doesn't feel like she has like the perfect team, but one of the arguments I made was that though it doesn't really quite land here because like we have a different standard of conversation here, I did also point out that there are some characters like Anby and stuff that just literally like characters like, sorry, not Electric Anby, but rather I should say Soldier Zero Anby. That character Soldier Zero Anby, like, and Piper, it does kind of feel different when you have Caesar, at least for me. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could see that. Like, yeah, I do think that like premium currency with the couple of characters coming out in the future might not also make it worth. There's like a lot of ways to take this, right? You could also technically argue like even with like the new like Anomaly or physical Anomaly character coming out, we already have 2 physical Anomaly. Like, is that going to like affect things? Like, is it even worth it to pull from them? I don't know. There's so many angles to it. Isn't Anby supposed to dodge anyway? You do gain, if I'm not mistaken, she does have a decent amount of value towards like progressing her like her star, right? Her mark with the dodge counter. I don't know. It's just I wish I could link. I don't have it on me right now. I'm looking at like my unit testing, like a spreadsheet where like I go through all the teams. Every time, like I'm just searching through and I'm just comparing. Every time that I have Caesar never goes beyond like top 8 in terms of clear. She's always in the top 8. And like, again, I know anecdotal is anecdotal. Like there's very, like, you know, there is very much so like math and stuff that pushes back against Caesar's like value here. But it's just like I'm looking at it. Like I'm looking at the math. Yeah. There is a pretty big difference between top 8 and top 1. That is fair. That is fair. However, I don't think Caesar has to be like Astra or like Trigger necessarily to be like tier 2, tier 3.
Sorry about that.
Hello, welcome back.
Hello. Where were we?
We were talking about Caesar. Honestly, like round and round we go. My and your editor, I'm sure, is gonna cut it down to like, hey, she's okay, and like that it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like honestly, but yeah, I think if you want to keep her in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, even, I think it would be kind of like just because you wanted to. I would say if you wanted to argue over the exact placement between like tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, it really comes down to like what you value, where your account is. And if you're adding that many factors into like your decision, it sounds like the player themselves has to choose rather than like, you know, a guide maker telling you like whether it's worthwhile or not.
Right. How about Reena? So you said you had stuff to say about Reena. I have stuff to say about Reena, which hasn't changed. It's she just doesn't buff enough.
Yeah, I've kind of hit like the same location as you. Okay,
but if you want to complain about the mechanics, go for it.
Okay, I also agree that no matter what team I've used with Reena, she just does not feel impactful. Like I really have tried and argue. Like, okay, to be fair, I've done almost exclusively all of my testing with Reena at M0, and I get it. Like once she gets M1, she is supposed to be more consistent, more efficient. However, I've just like the mechanic, the maintaining the uptime mechanic, it's just not like something that I think most casual players will care for. I've seen plenty of people use their EX special on Nicole. The buff will fully wear off, and then we'll just use it like Drew into ultimate. It's not like a thing in their head that I think a lot of people will cater to or like account for. And if they're not doing it for Nicole, I know for a fact they're not doing it with Reena. Unless, of course, they have it with M1, which I think is fair. But again, as I'm sure you're about to mention, it's just I've seen the testing with pen ratio. I've seen the testing with like Reena at M1. The only time I've ever seen this character feel kind of perform well, I think, is like when people did like Yanagi, or like in the week 1 of like Deadly Assault when they used like Reena M1 with Yanagi and Miyabi. I saw like a glimpse of faith and like good news for the character, but otherwise I'm just not a fan of this character. I placed her on my tier list at tier 4. I don't even actually know where I want to put her. I feel like maybe tier 5 or even.
Reena is an electric anomaly buffer. That's her primary niche. That's what she does, because she buffs shock duration.
Yeah.
The thing about Reena is I ultimately just feel that her buffs are not good enough. Period. Even if you do know how to play her correctly, she just isn't doing enough. So let's say you do everything with Reena. I don't think it actually changes her placement.
Yeah, I do also want to say, though, I just recently learned about like the like I didn't even know about this. I was talking to Lynn. I don't know if you know who Lynn is.
Oh yeah, I love Lynn.
Yeah. Lynn showed me the like a video of like someone doing like they were like evasive assisting in Typhon with Reena, but they had Caesars, so they were doing like the quick dodge out of Caesars, like defensive assist, so that you could like double defensive assist on Caesar. Just has nothing to do with Reena, but just like on the topic of like evasive assists, I'm also just really I'm sure there's like just a way for you to get around every scenario where it would be annoying for you to have an evasive assist. But I do also just think, like, generally speaking, it is more annoying, at least for, I feel like, the average person to not have like access to a more stun generating, like more straightforward assist.
I don't even think evasive assist is a problem. I think Arena's is a problem because
it's long and she does like
she just doesn't do anything. She just doesn't.
I mean,
Polkar's is fine. Xien's is fine. Astra's is fine if you ever use it. You probably won't.
Yeah, I mean, I like Polkar's just because Polkar has like that bakes, like hers is baked back into her kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that for any character or for any scenario where I would take Reena outside of like, again, maybe like a mono electric team with Yanagi, which again, I get it. That's like supposed to be her niche. Like just in general, I just don't think like she is that fantastic. If you want to keep her in tier 4, I think that's fine.
I'm going to keep her in tier 4.
Yeah, I don't think she's Kaleda or Anby, to be clear. It's just like I feel like I've heard so many people baited by like but did you have pen ratio on your 5th slot? And I just like dude.
It's not okay. It's really easy to drone about Reena's mechanics. And I'm just gonna say they're a pain in the ass, but they're not the biggest problem. If the character was like standout best in slot, significantly better, or like even just as good as Astra, I'd be like, okay, I'll deal with it. This is worth dealing with to get the return. It's just not a thing. It's not a thing for Reena. It's not a thing for Haramasa.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not hugely invested in this character. I do actually have M6 of Reena. Like, I haven't used it. Like,
M6 is actually pretty good.
Many arenas. Yeah, I do.
15 electric bonus. It's actually pretty good.
I would like one day. I think the second that I unlock, if I ever get Grace's M6, that's my first M6 for sure. For sure, it's gonna be Grace's M6. If I get an M6, I'll let loose like the flood of all my like mindscapes that I've accumulated on my account. But like Reena, like even as stubborn for as I've been about this character, I don't know.
I actually do think Reena has a good M6. It's 15 electric damage bonus. If you don't know, 15 electric damage bonus is better than 10% pen. Reena's M6 is a better buff than her M1.
I would hope so, to be honest with you. M6 of a character,
That is not true for like any of the other standard banner supports. They don't have support or they don't have buffs on their cons.
Most supports at M6 or most non-DPS characters in general, their M6 turns them or quote unquote tries to
makes them do more
damage.
Makes them do more damage.
Yeah,
that's what. So it's especially a trend in the newer characters, Jufufu and Trigger. They have M1 and M2 for support, and then after that, it's all personal damage.
Yep. In any case, I mean, we've seen it. Reena is, she's okay. I don't love her. I think I've warmed up to her a little bit more, seeing Yanagi be played more, but like, man, I don't know. I actually
think Yanagi is a really unpopular character to play. When people play Yanagi, I think they just play her with Miyabi. I don't think people really play Yanagi.
No, yeah, I agree. I just think that if you do use her if you do use, like, I can get behind you, like, Yanagi Reena. Because, like, again, earlier on, the only team, again, that I ever saw, like, moderate amounts of success with this Reena character without it feeling like bait was with Yanagi. It was Miyabi, Yanagi, Reena. But,
hold on. We just got a raid from Average Luck Gamer. One of our other goats. How you doing? I'm joined by Kana today.
Hello.
We are doing a tier list. We're on the support tier list now.
Yep, we're on the support end.
So yeah, that's Reena. I feel like we should move on.
Yeah, that's fine.
How about Seth?
Okay, despite everything that I've seen, look, if you want, like, you know, if we're talking about the standards, if we're putting our money where our mouth is, I've seen the Seth lovers. I respect you all. I will never say a bad thing about someone that you love, okay? But damn, this character, I don't know. Like, if you're not, again, I almost feel like it's like a Reena syndrome, but like to a worse degree. If you are in a scenario where you are trying to give an anomaly buff, okay, like, I get it. 100 anomaly is 100 anomaly, and like, that's fine. If you want, you know, if you want that on your team, cool. I just think that there are so many other characters that you would rather pick first, and I'm just not a fan.
All right, where would you put Seth before I even say anything?
I would probably put Seth no higher than tier 4, but I'm landing him, I think, literally in like tier 5 or tier 6.
Okay. Yeah, I think tier 5. I guess here's a question. Is King of the Summit better than Seth?
Genuinely, I would say yes.
Okay, then he's T6.
Ooh, okay, like, the thing is, though, is that, like, okay, you know, we always talk about, like, case by case, and we talk about, you know,
Seth. The problem with Seth's teams is those teams have too many characters in them, and they all specifically, like, they want to have more than one character buffed. That's how disorder works, which is what anomaly teams are right now. Seth only buffing one character is not really very good.
Literally the only case where I feel like Seth could even find like a tiny, like, my most compelling, or the most compelling reason for me to enjoy or like Seth was literally Tubu Games, as he consistently, I keep bringing him up, by the way, because I literally just like watch all of his videos at this point. He consistently uses it to kill Bringer, and I haven't seen him do it with any other character. And you know what? I got respect for that. Like, if that's
okay, I
what he's used for.
I just want to clarify. Score 20k is not the same as kill, because there is a kill.
Sorry. Yeah, he's able to get 3 stars with an all A rank team. I wouldn't normally consider that like an accomplishment. Right. Or sorry, I wouldn't normally consider like a 3-star run like an accomplishment. However, as an only A rank lineup, I know a lot of people, and I'm sure like if they showed us like the documentation of like how many people like actually do deadly assault, there's probably like, what is it, like less than 30% of people that
I think you can play Seth as a DPS. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, and again, that's, by the way, that's how he's built in that lineup. He's built like no crit rate, all crit damage, and attack in that lineup.
Yeah, you don't actually use the buff.
Exactly. So like, if that's the case, then like okay, but he's still going tier 5.
Okay. I want to put Lycon at T3.
Lycon at tier 3. Yeah, I think Lycon for me, he's surprisingly
actually
only.
He's really good with Hugo and Miyabi.
Yeah.
Maybe you go T2. I'm down.
I could see him in tier 2. I do want to say though that like, again, if you're okay, I want to say, not that I necessarily know perfectly. Okay, I should not even cap. I don't know how to play the Miyabi mono ice team like very well, like at all. I just haven't had the time to like really sit down and read the doc.
Oh yeah, chat announcement. I did get permission to go through and try to cut whole pages out of that doc. We will do a whole stream where I try to edit it down and make it short.
Okay,
we'll see how it goes. I got permission to do it because I didn't want to do it without permission.
That sounds amazing, honestly, because I don't know, reading that was like it is a little daunting, but I want to say again, like to their credit, like with Lycon, he's not like, you know, in the teams where you use him, yeah, he's easy with Hugo. I don't think it's like a cakewalk when you do mono ice, personally. Like I know I'm not like
it's
the
difficult
best.
to play, but like it's very good. it's the
no,
thing.
yeah. Not saying he's bad or whatever, but like, you know, if we're accounting for playability and like difficulty in this, you know,
I think you have to get points for being part of the literal best team in the game. I'm going to say the exact same thing about Sokaku. Sokaku is the reason that team works at all.
Yeah. Sokaku, personally for me, yeah.
I'm going to go T2. She's literally the reason the team works. She doesn't, it's just because she applies Anomaly. She's not great outside of it. She's just not. She literally got replaced from Ellen teams when they changed Ellen's additional. But
okay, this is where we will differ. This is so hard. I think it's really tough for me right now because I need to like see the rest of the list to like reorganize them, because this is looking like a little difficult for me. I do want to say, I acknowledge best team is best team. It is what it is. However, despite being the best team, it is notably more difficult to play the mono ice team. So much so that as you've like also described yourself, there is just a whole ass fucking, how many document pages is it?
I have no idea how many pages they made it.
Like whatever the doc. If you need a doc to play.
Oh, it's not actually that long.
Okay, it says a comically long to start though. You know what I mean? Like you can't have something say a comically long and then go, oh well, okay. You know what I mean?
It's actually very okay. There's not a ton I could do here. This is actually very readable.
It's just long, you know?
It's not okay. It is long because it is spaced out correctly.
Yeah, like long. Well, I mean, having multiple sections still technically makes it long. You know what I mean? Wow, this is a really good doc, by the way. I didn't even get to like further down in this doc. It is a very good looking doc.
Yes. Second half is a run analysis. In that case, you can just cut that. That's what, I see that. This is what you would cut out.
Oh my god, you just kept scrolling and it just didn't end. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there is a lot of useful stuff here.
All right, in terms of we didn't like quite go over Lycon and Sokaku.
Sokaku is a support who does some damage, applies a lot of ice anomaly and buffs, specifically ice agents. She's very good at doing it, specifically for Miyabi. And it is the thing that Sokaku does is she applies a lot of ice anomaly because the hitbox on the wind hits enemies multiple times, depending on spacing. Sokaku is just kind of a very good character because she does something no one else does, which is be a support agent and apply anomaly, which is effectively the same as being an anomaly agent who gives a buff.
I mean, it's also like important to remember and like accommodate for, or like I should say account for the fact that we also don't have a quote unquote ice anomaly character. So she's like kind of the closest thing to it.
Yeah.
And she does apply a lot. So like it is again like very like notable. And although again, not like a huge, not an expert at the mono ice team by any means. I do think again, like, you know, having the freeze or having like the unique way to play or like affect bosses using freeze is kind of just, I mean, it's not even underrated. It is as strong as it sounds. Like being able to stop the enemy from moving, interrupt like transition phases or like transformations. Like I very often, even without like using the mono ice team, whenever I have like an ice team in general, or whenever I have Miyabi in general, like I always like I'm only, or I think I subconsciously, like even without thinking about like the stun thing, I try to freeze like the boss out of the hand because I just don't like the way that it feels where like I have to stop, then break the hand, then, you know what I mean? Like for me, I prefer to either delay it or like push it to like a different part. And I don't know. I think Sokaku, like her attack buff is obviously nice too. But there's like so much to that character that I think isn't just her buffs. And yeah,
I think Sokaku is 100% T2. You can largely attribute it to Miyabi, but who cares?
Yeah, for my personal tier list, I just want to let you know, I put both Lycon, I guess his name is
Lycon.
Yeah. People flame me a lot for calling it light cone. Anyways, Lycon and Sokaku, I think, are fine if you want to put them in tier 2. But I think I personally would put them in tier 3 just because though they are the best team, I think it does take a little bit to play them. Okay. And also notably, I do want to say I tried like, you know, a lot of the old ice based teams with Lycon and Sokaku.
They're not the greatest.
Like, in other words, yeah, I tried it with Ellen. I also tried it with Hugo.
Literally, Ellen's buff is largely to make her better in teams outside of that.
Yeah, and the thing is that for me, like even if like Lycon and Sokaku were slightly like higher performing in like the Hugo or Ellen team, I'd maybe feel like a bit better. But like I'm sure you would agree with this. It's like it's Miyabi or nothing.
Yeah.
And like again,
honestly, fine for me right now.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with it. Nicole is an easy T1. You can't stop Nicole. You have to know how to play her, but you can't stop Nicole.
Yeah, I think Nicole is also in an absolutely ridiculous state. I
am also gonna quickly like. It's fine. We'll go one by one.
Both characters at the same time. Okay. If we just want to start with Nicole, yeah, I mean, what is there to say, right? I think it's actually kind of humorous that even for a character like Xien, who literally has defense pen, like just the ether damage and the crit rate that Nicole provides is like enough to make her like pretty well performing.
Yep.
I do have that note actually for Xien. I had like, you know, when I was testing Xien, I was thinking to myself like, oh, well, like, you know, should I even test Nicole? Because like what does she even provide?
Yes,
Nicole
you should test Nicole.
Was very well performing, like incredibly well performing.
It's like
it was kind of baffling.
Ultimate slap in the face for Lucy. Yes.
Yes, like it is incredible that a character who like literally loses a part of their kit is literally still like
Yes.
a relevant threat in like the modern era. And I think that's just like a testament to Nicole. Like if even like again, kind of like the Evelyn thing where like she can even be good in like Typhon or whatever boss it is where she's like resistant or like technically resistant. Things like that I think are so goofy, but they also kind of indicate like, wow, okay, this character is like something about this character is powerful and strong.
Part of the reason you can't stop Nicole is she also does a fair bit of damage. And she also has pretty good days. Nicole's just quite good. She gives, the reason she's good with Yizen is she gives 25% ether bonus, 15 crit rate at M6, and her engine gives damage bonus. Because Yizen gets partial value from attack, and these buffs end up being better than they would be normally. But also Nicole does more days than Pan Yin Hu, which is really important because days is stun, and getting to 3 stuns is more damage than not.
It would be crazy if Pan had like the impact the same way that like Caesar has impact, or like, you know, Seth gets impact or something. It would be crazy, honestly.
That's how you want to build them. Kind of. Well, you can build them with like an ER main stat and run impact slot 6, or you can run him with ER slot 6 and any main stat.
Well,
those are the 2 ways to build them.
For that section, we'll get to him in a sec.
Okay.
I think again, I think as you said, Nicole is definitely up there. I think with how prevalent Nicole Astra is as a combo, and everyone's saying, yeah, just use Nicole Astra as like their band-aid fix to everything, she has to be here.
And she's an A rank. And she's free.
Yeah. She's free. Yep. Free skin too. Always a plus, by the way. Just saying. Well, you can't get it anymore, probably, but or probably never.
The other T1 is definitely Astra Yao. Astra isn't a bulletproof character, but she just gives so much. I talked about it earlier when we talked about Lucy. Astra is literally more than double Lucy.
Yeah.
I don't really need to say much else.
I think something that people touch on a little bit, and I know that you touch on it in a bit, but is like a bit more underrated about the value of Astra. Astra's quick assists like shore up a lot of characters' weaknesses. Like there are, I feel like a lot of characters that feel like there are times where you're not doing anything, or it feels like you need, what is it? Like there's like a buffer, or like there feels like you're waiting to do something else. Like I felt this, I think the most on like Soldier. It feels like I'm like, okay, I'm out of attacks and I kind of suck at timing this ability, or I suck at timing these basic attacks. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, what am I going to do? And then I do a quick assist, or like I'll quick assist, or I'll like, you know, I'll swap to another character, or even just in general, like having the quick assist, I think is way, way, way nicer, not just for damage. It's pretty okay, I guess, depending on how good or how bad you are at dodging. I'm on the latter, side of that. And again, I think it's just a unique aspect of her kit that I think goes kind of a bit unnoticed, as opposed to just saying like, well, she gives more damage than everyone else.
She gives more damage than everyone else, but also you do really notice when she's not in the team with the quick assists. It's really noticeable.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not that Astra is a bulletproof character. It's just that she does so much. I'm going to blitz through some of these. Penyon, who is specifically for Rupture agents, and he's quite good. He's not an overall best in slot for Yizen, though, so I think I'm comfortable with T3.
You said Penyon who?
Yes, Penyon who.
You said...
I said T3.
Tier 3? I think I would put Pan exactly where Pulchra is.
Okay.
I think for me, they're exactly like the value there is exactly the same. They can be BIS or like very high performing for like certain characters. I'll probably put Pan ahead of Pulchra just because like I think it's rare to literally challenge Astra. And I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Pulchra beats or like outright like competes with Astra like that closely. Like she's good, don't get me wrong, but I think like Pan literally in like some of my tests, like I said, like is in spitting distance of Astra, which again makes sense just for Xien. I just don't think there's like a case like that for Pulchra.
Penyon, who he is in spitting distance of Astra, he's very good in Yizen teams. I just kind of wish he was an overall guaranteed best in slot. It's fine that he isn't, but it'd be nice if he was. One of the characters that's competitive with him is Chingi. Surprisingly, I would have put Chingi lower normally. Actually, I probably wouldn't have. But Chingi has a team now that's like quite good, which is the double stun Yizen. It's kind of difficult to play. It's kind of awkward. It's definitely easier if your Chingi is M1, which is funny because you're just using it for the accumulation. But I think Chingi at T3 is fine. Chingi is
the
still
team specifically that you meant.
Ju Fufu Yizen Chingi.
Interesting.
It's kind of a pain in the ass, but it's good.
Okay.
It's good enough.
I mean,
it is the best Chingi team and the one I'd recommend you play if you wanted something to do with Chingi right now. Because otherwise, I don't think there's much.
Yeah, there really isn't. I was going to say, I will say, I know, I think in the same way that we're a bit torn and split on Caesar, I don't think I'm nearly as split on Chingi.
Okay.
I think I'm comfortable putting Chingi actually below Pan and Pulchra for me personally. I think
I wouldn't like right now just because it's a use for her.
Well, the only reason why I say this is because, well, it feels like because I thought I was gonna have to raise your Chingi because I know prior to Xien, I don't think you were like huge on Chingi.
It's not that I don't like Chingi. It's that I don't like what people were trying to play and putting Chingi in the team and just assuming it was good.
Yeah, I mean,
again, which is the thing. So people would play Chingi Jane and Chingi Evelyn and Chingi Miyabi, and these are just not good teams.
Yeah, I mean, just for me, I always just found that there's like, again, not to like completely only split us between like, okay, like who's skill issued and who's not, but I always found that there was like a bit of value there in just the fact that, like, I think inarguably stunning is like a comfort for a lot of people, like stunning and shielding, right? Like getting hit by or like stopping the enemy from attacking is like a comfort that I think a lot of people like cling to or like kind of sit in. And I think that's part of the reason why I think Chingi is so powerful is because she's the best one of the stunners at doing that, like as easy as she should. Like obviously you have like Lycon and you have like Lighter who do stun, but in terms of literally how like, you know, monkey see monkey do, like Chingi just presses like 3 buttons. Well, yeah, basically 3 buttons, which is why again, like I had her as high as I did last time. I think I don't exactly remember where I put her, but
I am still gonna put. I'm still gonna put Lighter 2-1. He's just really good when the character can benefit from him. Granted, it is just Evelyn and Hugo, but he's really good at doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the same reason why we put I would say Lycon and Sokaku so high up, I definitely have like Lighter up there. I do think, and this is again something that I think is pretty rare, but I think is just the case for all tier 1 characters, is that they do something that like essentially no other character in the game does right now. Like the kind of the only exception to that for me is Caesar. And also I guess technically, well, for like your tier list, you definitely don't have Caesar in there, but like uniquely having I feel like the stun duration increase from Lighter, the quick assist, and like the overwhelming like stupid amount of buffs from Astra and Nicole are kind of also the way the reason why they all reside in the tier 1. But I think it's just so obvious like how strong Lighter is the second that you use a Lighter team and you take it away, the same way that you take away an Astra, or even if you take away a Nicole in some teams.
There's a Lighter gap, especially for Hugo. It's really bad. Hugo, or not, yeah, Hugo, but Lighter is, like, he's a super numbers character. He gives 75 damage bonus, 15% reg shred. Now it's 60 crit damage if you have his engine.
Yeah.
He's just a very strong character. He does enough days to get 4 stuns. That's all you really need. He also has the stun duration extension, which is great for Hugo. It's great in general. It's nice. I do think Trigger is a T2, personally. Trigger does have a really good M1, like most modern support agents. Trigger did get buffed by King of the Summit. Trigger's engine is fantastic, but maybe her engine is too good. Anby is kind of not... Maybe if Anby was a lot better, I could see the argument for Trigger T1. But I'm comfortable with Trigger T2.
I could definitely see Trigger Tier 1.
I know what the argument is. I just don't exactly agree. I don't think Trigger is that good.
Yeah, I felt her. I've tried her, and I think I expected more from her. I just think, again, uniqueness, off-field stunner, not really common except for Pulchra, and Pulchra does it worse than Trigger, in my opinion.
How do you feel about Jufufu?
Okay, hold on.
I do think Jufufu is obviously best in slot with Yizen. I don't think it's deniable. There is a lot of discourse about whether or not people should pull Jufufu, and it's fair to be like.
I think most people. I would probably say that. I think probably like half the community at least skip Jufufu.
They want to.
At least.
I don't think they should.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, as of like they did not pull like minute 1 on her banner is how I should rephrase that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you can't have the same argument about Lycon Sokaku without Jufufu at least being tier. Well, for your case, I think tier 2.
Yeah.
It's Yixuan. You know?
Yeah, it's Yizen. I do not think Jufufu is a particularly strong character outside Yizen.
Mm-hmm.
She is playable with other characters, but she's not.
She did okay.
She's not something you should be pulling for other characters.
I'll take the band-aid off. I'll take the band-aid off for you. Jufufu did not look exciting or compelling in like any non-Yixuan team.
Yes, she's not.
Like it was just. Like I have, if you guys want, I have like, well, I don't have on hand. I apologize, but in my sheets doc, like I have, God knows how many different Jufufu teams. They were all basically just bad compared to.
I think you can argue Jufufu T3 because you could say you can pull M1 Trigger, and that's kind of similar to Jufufu. I understand that. I'm comfortable with Jufufu T2 as long as Yizen is as good as she is.
Yeah, like these were, yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing like almost 5 to like 6,000 gaps.
Yeah,
between like Jufufu with like Yixuan and like Jufufu with like Evelyn. Which, like, in theory, I would imagine is like one of her better alternatives, right?
Evelyn, it is, but she's just kind of worse than Lighter.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, if she's that much worse with that character, then like, what exactly? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think overall, though, I mean, Jufufu offers a lot. She offers like the off-field, like obviously the off-field buff. It's just, like I think I said this in my Jufufu video. There's with the exception of Yixuan, not many characters that would prefer to have Jufufu's buff specifically, as opposed to like Lighters or like Astras or like whatever other character. Like it's like nice, I guess. Right. But you know, in most cases, you're looking at Nicole Astra, Lighter Astra. You're looking at.
I do just want to wrap things up by talking about the Anomaly characters. I want to talk about both of them at the same time, because I don't think I can talk about Bernice without talking about Vivian.
Oh, sorry. What was that last part?
The Anomaly characters. We're going to wrap things up with them. Because I want to talk about both of them at the same time because I do not think I can talk about Bernice without talking about Vivian. It's pretty simple. Vivian is strictly better. She does the same damage, but has the bloom mechanic.
Yeah. I think what's rough is that like it feels like the element should play more of an issue or a concern, but yeah, like Vivian just does not get punished by it, and there is no, as far as I can tell, ether weak boss, right? Is there an ether weak boss?
Every boss is ether weak. Ether resistant? No. Yeah, not until they stop selling Yizen.
Yeah, so with that, I think I'm comfortable with putting Bernice in tier 3 and Vivian in tier 2.
I'm putting Vivian on tier 1.
Ooh, that's...
Vivian is Anomaly teams. There is no Anomaly with no Vivian right now.
No, I'm okay. I'm okay to agree with you here.
That is my actual opinion right now.
Yeah, I think this is fair. Like, I'm looking at the list. I honestly wouldn't change too much.
Yeah.
It does feel like, again, the Anomaly characters are make or break by Vivian right now. And again, I don't know. The most I've ever seen. The downside for
Vivian is she is a super Astra wanting character.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't continue to be an issue. Especially for Anomaly agents who have cheaper EX costs. Because that makes it easier to play her with no Astra.
Not to say that it's necessarily like a major weakness or flaw, but I do want to say that Bernice does technically come online faster than Vivian. Burn, swap, and like I get it. I will just say the reason why I bring that up is because, again, I don't just, again, I know the testing is always done in like Deadly Assault and people care for Deadly Assault the most. I've rarely had a fight where like Bernice, well, this is before Vivian came out. I've rarely had a fight where Bernice was slower than Yanagi. Like never.
Oh, for Miyabi? Sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, just, whatever.
But that's not like, I mean, I'm talking about like Yanagi teams. So Yanagi, Vivian, Bernice, Yanagi.
I just thought it was important to point
kind of
out,
a big difference.
Yeah. In any case, though, I mean, is there anything you'd want to like change about?
No, I actually got to run.
Oh, okay. In any case, if you just want to do like the like your little outro or whatever, thanks again, Jason, for having me. I know this is like super last minute. I think he has his headphones off. Does Jason have a pet? Does he have a cat or something? Oh, a dog? Oh, okay, I see. Thanks, chat. What's his dog's name?
Okay, I gotta run.
Okay, all right, all good. Hey, anyways, thanks again.